And I mean, Baltune, so far in this tournament, he's been making, I want to say, like a banger of an impression, right? Like, this dude has been taking, like, top names time and time and time again. He's been looking absolutely phenomenal with his gameplay. And, yeah, just want to say, like, this is, he's been like, really, really putting in the work here so far in this tournament. But Scatterbrained, on the other hand side, also just been improving time and time again, and also just in peak form at the moment.
Yeah, definitely peak form. He's been beating a lot of people, or like taking games in general off of some people that you wouldn't quite expect it here this tournament. And actually, there's been quite a bit of that this tournament in general, with a lot of players just kind of starting to make a little bit bigger of a name for themselves. Kind of some players on the edge of that top 16, actually taking down some of the top 6, or at least getting games off of them.
Yeah, indeed. Now we're gonna be looking at the draft here. Dry Arabia is gonna be the one where we're gonna be starting classic map to start off a set like this. It's gonna be the Ottomans for Baltune and the Macedonians for Scatterbrained. Macedonians, I don't know about you, Devson, but like at the beginning when they came out, like the Redari, really strong. Really, really strong. And they hammered hard into them. They've been getting some really solid nerfs all around on the civilization. We had like the very annoying, I want to say, like Rangian feudal age guard spam strategy coming in. I think that's been kind of like fixed at this point. And there's more options now. People are starting to explore more options with the Macedonians, not just as a Redari only civilization, but a general like more options with the civilization in general, more army compositions to explore with them. Ottomans, on the other hand side, though, I feel like they've always been doing kind of the same. And in the current meta, sure, we've had a Sipahi nerf, but Sipahi is still very much the flavor of life, I want to say, for the Ottomans.
Yeah, Ottomans have kind of been doing the same thing for a while, like you said. The only thing kind of difference is their earlier build. It's, you know, are they getting the military schools out early, or are they just waiting for feudal age or later on? Meanwhile, like you said, Macedonians, they've been changing what they've had as the quote-unquote strongest build or kind of main route that they've been taking. I know especially in team games, you mentioned the Radari, that was just the only thing you'd see a Macedonian every single team game, because they would just be going straight for Radari spam.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, because like when you look at the Radari, it doesn't have a charge, it costs a little bit more, but then you look at the other stats and it's like, oh my god, very fast attack speed, incredible damage on them as well. You get like 20% of the units you lose back through the war camp. It's a pretty interesting dynamic overall with that unit. On the other hand side, though, we've seen mass cavalry just taking over the meta at the moment. But in this kind of meta situation, I feel like that is also one where the Ottomans kind of start to shine a little bit more, as they've got a lot of tools when it comes to dealing with that mass cavalry play.
Yeah, you can also tell both of these players right off the bat wanting to get this series started on a good note. We saw Sengoku banned, we saw Ottoman banned on vice versa sides, but that's why they were picked later on. But other than that, picked the biggest priority pick there, as well as their first picks. So definitely trying to get the strongest civs and just get a win with the strongest civ that you prioritized as well here. So this first game, very, very important for both of these players.
And a best of 5, it definitely does set the game pace. And now we're going to be jumping right on in the color yellow. We've got Scatterbrained spawning on in here on Dry Arabia. And, oh, this is interesting. Wait, no, I think the colors are actually switched around. This is Ottomans, because they are gathering.
That is definitely an
Ottomans. That is the Ottoman player here. There we go. Figured it out. So we've got the Ottomans here, Baltune, spawning in the color red. We got that early military school coming in. On the other hand side, we've got Scatterbrained playing as the Macedonians here. And we're on EGC Dry Arabia for game number 1.
Yeah, everybody's favorite map. You can't start it off on a better note than a classic Dry Arabia game with some of these players' strongest and highest prioritized civilizations. So let's see what build orders they have at hand. We kind of talked about Ottomans doing the same thing, but the big difference is when that military school comes out. Baltune said, all right, let me go ahead and get a few spears out on my way to Feudal, and then once Feudal Age hits, I'm sure he will be swapping that on over to Sipahi.
It's one of the things where the military school, by the time that you hit that feudal age, you'll have 3 spearmen out on the field, so it almost, like, the military school almost pays for itself at that point in time. After that, of course, switching over to the Sipahi, basically your strongest military unit as the Ottomans in the feudal age, and even a little bit later down the line, the Sipahi is just an all-around super great unit to have there. So, yeah, just going for that early military school, which doesn't delay you that much, definitely a good choice here.
Yeah, and these high elo players, they're so good at utilizing mobility in general. So Sipahi, even if Scatterbrained's making a bunch of spears and has some walls up, a lot of times these players push and pull the slower units on around and still just keep them in their base, and gives them a lot of time, gives them a lot of flexibility to do what they want behind the, the little bit of pressure that horseman Sipahi can make.
Speaking of horsemen, the Macedonians, of course, they also have a lot of unique stuff going for them when it comes to horsemen. We do see the Imperial Hippodrome coming in right now. Now, the Imperial Hippodrome is like kind of the main landmark that we see being made by Macedonians at the time. Even though they're Grand Winery, like when you look at the stats, it's not bad, right? Like a 30% buff to your food economy in an area around it. That can be pretty good. It's just that the Imperial Hippodrome provides you with so much military value that it's honestly kind of insane. You get a champion scout, horseman, and a Radari. They spawn after a little bit of a delay, one after another. The thing is, the champion scout gives you more torch damage. The horseman gives all of your cavalry +2 damage, and then the Radari increases the movement speed of all of your infantry nearby, while all of these units also have just incredible stats on them and heal all the time. Like in combat, out of combat, they heal all the time. It's just so much value, and you can extract a lot of value out of them, and tentatively even like get away with relatively greedy fast castle plays with just a little bit of aggression from the free units there.
Yeah, and we've seen so many different civilizations kind of utilize their free unit landmark or free unit capabilities to do exactly that and give them a free way to castle. Whether it was Byzantines back in the day when they would just make a few keshiks and then all of a sudden be castle age, whether it's ABBA getting their extra TCs with the military school and then kind of trying to get up. It's just free units have shown to be a powerhouse in this game, and I guess not only free units, but obviously passive economy that is free as well.
Twin Madras is going to be coming in on Baltune's side. Now, I gotta say, Scatterbrained, he rushed up the landmark very, very quickly, so the Hippodrome timing is very early on, and look at that. Scatterbrained going for the early stone gathering here on 5 villagers. Now, this could be a sign that either he's just going to try and get an outpost emplacement up, or that he's actually going to be researching the unique upgrade from the Varangian stronghold, which actually puts an arrow slit emplacement onto every single production building, or rather every single Varangian stronghold that you build as the Macedonians.
Yeah, and that's one where we'll see that happen a lot, where all of a sudden they start popping these strongholds around, and just like you said, they act as a defensive capability there, and it's just a lot of times enough to deter away some of that early pressure. Meanwhile, Baltune doing exactly what we'd expect here, the stables immediately being rushed on up when feudal age hits. Sipahi are about to be on the way. He hasn't yet swapped the military school on over yet, though.
Yeah, typically you just want to get that last spearman in before you switch it over, or rather it's already switched over probably at this point in time. No, actually switched it over to Matter. Okay. That's also a good play, just because the Matter baseline is relatively expensive. It's kind of nice getting it in for free from the military school, so saving up a lot of resources there as well, and you can always just make the Sipahi manually. There it is now. We do see the first Varangian stronghold coming up first here for Scatterbrained, and will most likely just going to be researching that arrow slits emplacement. Tanks with the Hippodrome champion, or rather Hippodrome scout. Very important, as that one is able to heal itself up. But Baltune, realizing that, manually focuses onto the horseman instead of the scout.
Yeah, and you can see Baltune trying to at least get the mining camp taken down before the stronghold upgrade comes through, and those spears have to evacuate and run on home. First Sipahi is on its way, and also, most important upgrade that everyone loves, Wheelbarrow. First investment here for Baltune as far as his gold goes.
Mining camp did get taken down. It's just going to get put up again by Scatterbrained, since a lot of villagers out now. He was just lacking a little bit of gold. I believe the gold cost is like 200 on the upgrade. So it's quite costly on the gold department, but gold is typically something... No, actually it was just 100? Yeah, I think it was just 100 gold. So Scatterbrained is getting the upgrade in right now, is also adding in an additional outpost next to it, and is going to be fine to gather up on gold there.
Yeah, really wants to make sure this location, his gold does not get denied. Even though it's, a nice old back gold, it's still very easy to get focused in on, especially when that Sipahi number continues to climb up as Baltune is planning on. Baltune even has a second stables already here to help that production.
Yeah, so double Sipahi play. Already researching the Pierce armor upgrade as well, so he really will want to dive early on. Underneath the defensive emplacements here from Scatterbrained. Scatterbrained is starting to produce some spearmen on his side. And he does see just how many Sipahi are coming out here now at the moment from Baltune. So he'll know that he's going to have his work cut out for him. He wants to defend against this. Drone, Horseman now there as well.
He at least tanks up some of that Sipahi damage, keeps the scout alive, at least gets those last few couple sheep back home, as food clearly seeming to be an issue potentially down the game, as he just moved out, what was that, 10, 15 villagers over to the berries. And, with Castle Age plays, the last thing you want is all of a sudden you're aging up to Castle and you realize, oh my gosh, I'm running out of food into my base. I have nowhere safe to gather from.
Baltune just really going ham on the Sipahi production for Sipahi in Q at the moment. And that is now a third stable coming up behind this as well. Yeah, that is quite the big investment now at the moment from him into Sipahi. I think he also already redeemed the Vizier point for the additional sheep on the field, so he's going to have food for quite a long time here.
Yeah, so Sipahi production does not seem to have an end in sight. 4 more in queue again. That Metter has finally popped out of the military school after the exorbitant amount of time it took. We see the early spears from Baltune starting to get slowly picked off as he is trying to kill some deer over on that side, spread those out, not make that economy, allow that economy to be efficient once Scatterbrained does move out to the deer, if he can at all.
And Scatterbrained, it kind of feels like he's just going to try and force the Castle Age play after this. Could be quite dangerous if he's getting caught off guard. He could potentially find himself at the end of a timing push. Metter is going to get taken quite low by the TC fire, though. He's going to have to be careful where he engages with that.
Yeah, that Metter kind of just, whenever you're moving with the Sipahi, a lot of times it kind of trails on the backside. TC fire almost took it on out, but that Sipahi number is getting to the point where Baltune's probably thinking about diving. Already got the ranged armor in, like you said earlier on, which means you know what he has in store. You know what he has planned here. It's to put some pressure on this castle play from Scatter.
There it is. Golden Horn Tower is coming in up at the same time. Yeah, it has to be replaced. It's going to get cancelled for the moment, because right then and there is when Baltune is starting to move forward with his military units. And yeah, it's a very, very defensive Golden Horn Tower. And Baltune, he doesn't see it quite yet. He is going to find it out now, though. Is he going to go for a push into it? Nah, he respects
sees it now, but he sees that, the gold villagers have to get pulled, so Scatterbrained, he realizes how desperate of a situation he could be in. 29 villagers on that Golden Horn Tower, so will not have a lot of resources once Castle Age does hit. Actually only has 30 food in the bank, so not like he's getting a lot of immediate upgrades or immediate units on out from that.
I like the reaction from Baltune here behind us as well. He noticed, okay, that he cannot really go for a big dive there. So instead, he cut production and is now very close to being able to age up himself as well.
Yeah, and when you're producing that many Sipahi and you have 4 or 5 in queue, it's kind of shocking when you cancel the production and all of a sudden you're right there, not too delayed as far as Castle Age yourself. Baltune finally dropping a production building that is not a stable, so we saw his barracks getting built over on the backside.
A couple of Radari are now in queue for Scatterbrained. We do already see the first armor upgrade coming in for the cavalry units for him. Drum Radari on the field as well. Oh, a little quick wall. Is it? Okay, it's going to delay the champion a little bit. And champion, suffering from a little bit of pathing there as well. Could still find a Vil kill.
Perfection there. Villagers jump inside the TC in time. Scatterbrained leaves that Radari on out and about, so a lot of arrow fire will be taken, but that thing is so tanky.
Yeah, he really is. Dodges one of the spearmen there. Looks to just head back on home now for the time being. Could actually go for a little loop around back onto the gold. If he sees it. Butcher's still inside the outpost. Yeah, he's going for the gold again.
Yeah, there are a few spears here, but just not enough. The Sipahi arrive, though, and there is the mass that Baltune needs to probably deter this bit of a push away.
And the Hippodrome champion is getting rather low on health now. One Radari and the Horseman come in to distract a little bit, but need to be careful as well.
Really good focus by Scatterbrained. He was able to dive through, kill off the low health Metter, and dive past as well and kill 2 lower health villagers too. So really good pickup there from Scatter. As his units are still getting chased around here. And spears push Baltune off gold.
Baltune, he doesn't have that much gold remaining at the moment. He's actually choosing, like opting to go for some upgrades here. Oh, villagers. Oh, he does not react yet. Loses 1, loses 2.
3.
Oh, he lost the others as well.
6 villagers now have been lost from Baltune. Scatterbrained has had about 40 seconds of TC idle time, so makes up for a few of those villager losses, but still, Baltune not in the greatest situation here. Spear number is starting to climb on up. Another villager goes down out on this deer. Outpost will fall as well, so this food location that he was trying to secure for himself is not secure by any means.
Yeah, the issue is behind this Baltune, he did kind of want to go for his own little raiding attempts earlier, but it's just not possible with the Golden Horn Tower wedged into the base of Scatterbrained. You're really going to have to find the villagers out there on the resources if you want to get any damage in. Did not happen there. Sipahi go for a nice little surround there on some of the units. Now going to be able to take down both the Hippodrome Horsemen as well as one of the Radaris there.
Yeah, and this is the point now where Scatter is a little bit more vulnerable as far as some of those resources go. He's not just tucked under the base next to the Golden Horn Tower next to his TC. He's out on 2 different packs of deer. Did reinforce into some of those with an outpost, with a stronghold, but Baltune Sipahi number and with some ranged armor, he can tank those up for a decent bit of time.
Yeah, for sure. At the moment, Baltune, he's just mostly going into the Spearmen. Scatterbrained still, of course, getting that passive production of crossbows in from the Golden Horn Tower. Switched over the Imperial Armory to Springles as well. Sipahi, usually a very, very strong unit overall. Oh, little axe throw, gets the matter there. But against the armor from the Radari here, they don't seem to hit as hard as they typically tend to do.
Yeah, and with that wall that Baltune has invested on into, gold should be secured on the back side of his base, so we'll force Scatter to actually run full circle around or try to burn through some of these walls on the side.
Behind this, Baltune now also looking to go for some raids on his own, but Scatterbrained is keeping a lot of the military in the back there as well. Most importantly, some spearmen there.
Yeah, utilizing the mobility to try to do some raiding. Meanwhile, on the backside, he's rallying the crossbows, rallying some of the spears to his base at home to, you know, allow to or to deter some of this raiding. However, Baltune slips right in between where the army is, finds out a huge mass of villagers. Sipahi get right on top. Great job getting in the midst of the villagers as well. Just so much damage comes through from the Sipahi so quick. Evens the villager kill number just like that with one raid.
Golden Tower does a good amount of damage there, but it's not going to be enough, so Scatterbrained is going to get even out on the villager count now behind this. Sipahi still looking for potential damage spots, though. I'm gonna find it for the time being.
Yeah, good pickup there by Baltune to kind of equalize those numbers. Does have some military schools working for himself as well. So military number, you can just see the difference in Q, where we got 1 crossbow for Scatter. Meanwhile, we have 2 Sipahi, the Springled in Q from the MIA, couple spears, and even Janissaries now for Baltune starting to climb up. So there will be a time here for Scatter. If he lets this go for a minute or two, the military numbers are just going to be way out of hand with the Ottoman.
Baltune, he just started making his first religious unit, so hasn't gotten any relics in yet. Scatterbrained already bringing the second one back. Spearman, alongside some Sipahi, trying... These Radari just don't take damage, man. It looks like it at the very least. They're just running past.
running right past, but not a lot of places for those Radari to run to with the way that Baltune has laid out his base. Looks like they are trying to burn a wall on the right side, but he just immediately drops another layer here with the gold villagers. So we'll continue to delay these Radari, and if they push through this wall, they're actually going to be walled in here. So this is a huge bait by Baltune. He circles around with his army. This is going to be such a big pickup for him.
And there it is, the Radari, they're moving on back, and they're going to be at the mercy of all of these spearmen. A little split up there on the Radari. Tries to distract some, but doesn't open wide enough of a gap there in order to go through. These
Nowhere
Radari.
to go, nowhere to run. They're trying to find a way out. The wall didn't quite fully get finished, though. Trying to pull the torches, trying to do enough damage, but just not quite enough.
And all the Radari and the champion going down as well. Scatterbrained just losing a lot of military units there.
I mean, if we thought the military was about to get out of hand with that pickup from Baltune, it is way tilted to the Ottoman side now. It is going to be hard for Scatter to defend some of these locations that he is moving out to, running out of that. And actually, he still has some on that initial gold vein, just decided to make the move out earlier. Okay, that's like 160. You know, strategically leaving that so Baltune still sees it on the map, doesn't move out to try to raid some other golds.
Yeah. Behind all of this, though, the army composition from Baltune, I want to say, is quite scary here. We're already up to 40 spearmen, 13 Sipahi, and now mass Springles as well behind this. Soon to be 5 Springles. I mean, the army from Scatterbrained right now, it just would not be able to withstand a push from Baltune.
Yeah, there's so much infantry for Scatter, and all Baltune needs to do is protect his Springles from the Radari dive, and I think with 40 spears, you should be able to do that pretty efficiently there, and the Springles would clear up any of that infantry mass so well.
Scatterbrained, he has made a switch into some archers as well. He's getting the +2 damage upgrade in now alongside that. Textile's also coming in. He's struggling a little bit on the food department right now. I think he just switched over some villagers to the deer again, or to the berries at the top side as well. From Fire now also coming in, never mind getting cancelled, instead going for the +3 pierce damage upgrade. That is something that you can pretty much only get as the Macedonians. Makes the damage output from your archers equal to that of longbows. And on top of that, you still, of course, have the upgrade ability to, not the upgrade, but the ability on the archers to ignore some of the armor. Not just that, also decrease some of the damage done by the units that you hit with the archers.
Yeah, Baltune's armory, though, is looking scary. Scatterbrained definitely needs some of these extra upgrades to be able to compete with this composition, with the numbers that Baltune has. Scatterbrained definitely needs some tech advantages to try to equalize this.
Securing the berries in the middle. Just this big death ball of Ottoman units now at the moment. Scatterbrained could find himself in a situation where he's just going to get confined into his base underneath the Golden Horn Tower. The position of that Golden Horn Tower just doesn't really afford him any sort of map control at the moment, but it was necessary just to protect him at the moment during the Feudal Age.
Yeah, usually you'll see it dropped on like the next gold vein, or as well as some deer, kind of almost where Scatterbrained had moved out to initially, getting those extra food resources, but he could not afford to drop that golden horn at any spot that was vulnerable at all. Baltune still going for another raid while massing up units in his base, still just being patient, waiting, watching for his time to strike. Might be able... Oh, quick reaction here from Scatter with the outpost. He even has some spears there to push Baltune away.
Spearman gonna be able to defend the position. House is getting replaced now. Scatterbrained was housed for just a little bit. Overall population isn't too drastically different from each other. It's like a 20 pop difference at the moment. It is still like big enough. Looking at the army value overall, there's not that much of a gap. Like, we're looking at less than 1,000 resources difference between the army value.
Yeah, a little bit closer than what it seems. Scatter does have 4 relics going for himself, and that's why Baltune is trying to grab some sacred sites to equalize some of that passive gold income. It's just, I feel like Baltune's death ball of an army. It's just so hard to dive the actual back line. You can see the Springalds now starting to move up. The spears just spreading out around those.
Military now regathering in the middle here for Scatterbrained. Now, typically, archers do pretty well, both against the spearmen, janissaries, as well as the Springalds. But Springalds have a little bit more range. Now, the Macedonian archers, they can get a little bit more range with the runestone as well. But now we're seeing Imperial Age coming in from Baltune. That is gonna supercharge all of the military schools, increasing their production speed to 100%.
Yeah, Baltune figured he was enough ahead. He got enough of a lead with that pickoff on the backside that this gives him the breathing room to go Imperial Age, to wait for a couple of those Imperial Age upgrades, and then take the fight. Scatterbrained, though, I feel like he's got an inkling that Baltune's doing something fishy. Baltune hasn't been raiding, hasn't been doing a lot of aggression here, has just been playing on the backside, being patient, waiting, and this is where the timing that he has been waiting on is this Imperial Age here now.
And as soon as that Imperial Age bell has been rung, we immediately see Scatterbrained moving towards the base from Baltune. He knows, okay, now is the time that I need to take a fight. I'm way too far away from my own Imperial Age, so now before the upgrades come in, I need to take a fight.
Fight being taken, though, in between the outposts. There's some extra Springled fires helping on out. Springleds on the backside going untouched, so a lot of pierce damage here. Radari were about to circle, but instead they land themselves on top of the spearmen. Janissaries on the backside are absolutely slaughtering the front line of the Radari with the spear help.
Janissary elite upgrade already through at this point. The Spearman frontline just being too much for the Radari to really handle, too much for the Radari to tank up against. Archers needing to fall back for the time being. More Radari coming in as reinforcements from the war camp, but a lot of value has just been lost from Scatterbrained, and he's just not able to follow up into the Imperial Age immediately. Has to run back, has to buy himself some time, but there's 26 elite Janissaries now out on the field from Baltune alongside Spearman as a front line. The archers just haven't been able to pick any of that or any meaningful numbers of that off.
Yeah, Scatterbrained felt like he had to take that fight with the timing, and now, losing that fight when your opponent's Imperial, you will get stuck in Castle Age trying to continue to mass up, trying to continue to hold this push, but it's going to be hard to hold this push even with the queue that Scatter has. Even if all those units pop out now, Baltune just has such a big military lead.
Farms have gone up inside the base from Scatterbrained. Baltune's still out on the natural resources. Don't think he really made too many farms, if any, at all at this point. Just still living off that natural life. Scatterbrained villagers need to get pulled back now. Scatterbrained just going for the mass Radari play.
And I mean, it's crazy to think that's the option, going Mass Radari into Spears and Janissaries, two different counter units on the other side. And that Janissary number is so healthy at 27. It's kind of that unit that kills everything except for even kills the archers, but the archers are just so much cheaper that that's more of the effective trade there. Radari trying to stop some of the reinforcements here from Baltune, but that mass is just so far forward, so far in the base. Looks like Baltune might start to pull back a little bit. Might have to respect this Radari push inside of his base. Doesn't want to lose too many of these reinforcing units.
Yeah, Scatterbrained trying to get some value outside of, or rather inside from Baltune's base, avoiding his main army. Trying to pick off anything that he can there, picking off some of the reinforcements that were trickling forward. Baltune now forced to pull his entire military back. This could buy Scatterbrained actually enough time to potentially find his own way into Imperial Age. So villagers now getting found out.
Chopped through the wood line, allow the Radari a clean way through, able to get out. You know, only 3 or 4 lost there with that initial push on through, but the key was this is giving Scatterbrained the time he needs to try to equalize this Imperial Age. Still light years away as far as the food goes, but time is what he needs, and time is what he is getting slowly.
Behind this, he's got a lot of silver, and he actually went all the way to the level 4 armor upgrade in Castle Age on these Radari. They got as much armor as Imperial Age units at this point in time.
Yeah, not the easiest to take down, but still, those Radari are going into a just giant mass of counter units that just trade so well into them, even with the extra armor, even with those extra upgrades.
Scatterbrained still managed to eke out a 13 villager lead now, with 4 relics in the bank as well. So as the majority of the relics, has a good villager lead. Economy, he's got a lot more income. Just military-wise, the value definitely in the lead for Baltune, not just when it comes to units out on the field, but also when it comes to the upgrade advantage behind all of this. Ari just about not able to get that last villager kill there. Scatterbrained still just running around here and forcing Baltune to just react to all of these small individual raids.
Yeah, just have to respect these Radari when even just a few of them, they're so hard to take down with not a mass of units. And Scatter actually thinks that this Deer location's a great spot to attack. Baltune is moving his mass, is moving his army over here, so we're about to see another big engagement, but I don't think Scatter wants to take these big head-on engagements. He wants to just continually stall, continually delay Baltune over here, and is forced on back to run away.
Behind all of this, Scatterbrained, he has not started saving up the resource. He has continuously reinvested them into more and more military units. But he's still not really close to position to be able to age up. A lot of silver in the bank, so he's still getting the upgrades every now and then.
Baltune's food situation has been so dire for so long. He hasn't been above the 400 food per minute mark in quite some time, even with the Twin Minaret feudal age landmark choice. He just has not been able to get any semblance of food economy stabilized. I think he's transitioning into some farms right now.
8 more Radari in queue behind the Scatterbrained, about to be going up all the way to 40 Radari. Scatterbrained needs to be very careful though. These Janissaries are going to eat these Radari alive for breakfast.
And Baltune's military ball is just building so much. He's at over 110 military population alone. So the villager deficit, it won't matter much if all of this is just going to be military.
Scatterbrained just getting immense value out of kiting Baltune's army all around the map. 3,000 silver at the moment in the bank. Imagine if you could sell silver.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Scatterbrained kited Baltune's army all the way to his base now, though, and this is where that death ball... Baltune wants to take this fight. Scatter's still Castle Age. Scatter still doesn't have as many of these upgrades as Baltune has. Baltune even has some of these food economic... The food economic level 3 for himself as well.
12 Springles and plenty of choke points here. At this mass, Springles easily take down all of the ranged troops as well. We can see this kind of unfolding here.
That pierce damage. He's making sure to clog up those gaps as well, so if the units come through, they just bunch up so well together, they fall right into the hands of these Springles, and Baltune taking the fight even under the TC, even under the Golden Horn Tower, not caring about the unit loss because of how much damage this is going to end up doing here.
Runestone has been dropped behind this. Archer's getting a little bit more damage, getting a little bit more range on it. Fight gets fully taken. Springles walking further forward, taking down the back line there from Scatterbrained. A lot of the archers going down. Baltune's army, it's completely decimated what Scatterbrained has out on the field. We don't see any more Radari out here. They all disappeared. Now all that is left is the army from Baltune pushing in deeper and deeper into the base. More Radari actually coming out of nowhere. There is the Warcamp still also producing units.
But now the villagers are starting to get focused in on by the Springles, by these Janissaries. Farms not able to be utilized at all. You're about to see the income per minute plummet here for Scatterbrained. Meanwhile, Baltune, his base fully secure, his rally, his reinforcements are constantly going to be on the way here. So looks like finally he has taken this time to close out this game, to get himself in a position that Scatterbrained cannot come back from.
Scatterbrained still trickling units into the mass from Baltune, but Baltune is now just starting to send Zapai into every single corner on the map, and Zapai is such a good raiding unit with the additional range, just able to pick off villager after villager after villager here in very, very swift strikes. There's just no way to get him out of his base.
Main army is on the east side, but meanwhile, like you said, he split off some Sipahi on the west side, so all of Scatterbrained's economy is just getting focused down, is getting damaged, is getting diminished here, and Baltune is just ready to start this series up 1-0 to try to get himself and continue this hot streak that he's been on.
There it is. GG is going to get called. Baltune getting the early lead in the set. Ottomans winning up against the Macedonians here, but this was by no means a stomp. This was still very, very close, I want to say. Scatterbrained just really utilizing the cavalry to the maximum efficiency to buy himself enough time to muster up a very, very large force of military. And, you know, sometimes when you get enough units, even when you're an H behind, you can still just overwhelm your opponent. Looking at the total resources gathered, Scatterbrained was miles and miles ahead, but all the military schools, the additional just production speed from the Istanbul Observatory, it doesn't quite get factored into it, and it does play a really, really big role.
Yeah, I mean, even at the end point of that game, Baltune had, what, 12, 13 Springolds out? I don't think he ever built a siege workshop, so those were all from the MIA. Just so many free resources, and that's just one of the free production buildings that Baltune had for himself. So the resource gather doesn't tell the full story when it comes to Ottomans, but still, what a close back and forth there, big engagements, and leading us into map number 2. We do have a hybrid map, and it is Holy Island for Baltune's English and Scatterbrained's Zushi.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I mean, interesting map choice, I want to say. Just because Holy Island, of course, being a hybrid map, players... There's like two camps of players, typically. It's players that don't mind the water maps and players that absolutely hate them. Actually, never mind. There's a third camp. Players that strategically try to look for these water maps, and maybe that's one of the players that Scatterbrained could be part of, because yeah, he actively chose to go for Holy Island here with Shushi's Legacy, and also having Tuklak as an option there as well. That one did get sniped out. Baltune going for the English civilization his side. So both of these civs pretty decent on water, I want to say. Admiralty makes English a force to be reckoned with should it go to a longer feudal age without a decisive victory on water. And Shushi's Legacy, like we've seen it time and time again on a map like Holy Island, there's some potential for insane meditation garden potential.
Yeah, insane meditation garden potential and the ability to go up to castle a little bit easier as well. Zushi just has quite a few things going for themselves, and looking at the game count, looking at the series count, obviously there haven't been a ton of matchups between these two. This will add their second encounter, but Baltune has won the last one 3-2, so by no means was it an easy encounter for Baltune to win.
Yeah, very even matchup between the two players. And so far, the first game definitely did tell that kind of story, that it is a pretty even matchup between them. It's going to be interesting to see just what exactly the game plan is going to be here now for Holy Island, because sometimes we see like these little curveballs coming in, right? Like players maybe going for like... We've been past the meta, I want to say, where players went for these like very early on Dark Age rushes onto the water from the opponent, like all the way on the other side of the map, just because it takes so long to get there. Recently, though, I feel like we've been seeing a little bit more of that returning again, with players actually going for some Dark Age aggression and doing a little bit more early pressure on land as well.
Yeah, I love you mentioning this in this series specifically, because I've seen Baltune do that twice in the past 2 weeks, where he decided to just ignore water completely until Feudal Age, then drop his dock after some aggression, after some spears, and it actually has worked out pretty well for him so far. So unfortunately for him here, English, they don't have the early spears. They do have men-at-arms, but they're quite expensive. So we'll see if he does end up opting for that, or with English, I would expect more of the typical Holy Island gameplay. You already mentioned Admiralty. It's one of those upgrades that if you can get it in when like your water is still relatively even, all the trades from there forward just become so much easier for the English side. It's just such an expensive upgrade that you can't typically prioritize it right off the bat.
Yeah, it's We've actually seen like English with when it comes to upgrades with the Admiralty. There have been builds where players go for like an insane amount of early gold gathering just to get Admiralty in as early as possible. Just because like getting that little bit of additional range really means that you can take some absurdly good trades there with your Springle chips, and that is one happy dog if I've ever seen one.
Yeah, he's been a little excited here this morning, as I'm sure you've heard bits and pieces of him in the background trying to bring me a toy consistently. But he's been cheering on along, excited for this tournament, excited for these games we have in store.
Indeed, and there's a very good reason to be excited. Scatterbrained, of course, like this guy. He's mostly known for his cavalry plays. Like, he loves playing these mass cavalry type civilizations. But water, that is also a spot where he is no slouch on. In general, I see like a lot of the 3D players having a little bit of a preference when it comes to water as well. And yeah, so we'll be very interested in seeing what exactly he's got planned for us here today, as we're going to be moving into our game number 2 now between Baltune on Scatterbrained. There it is, jumping right into it. We've got Scatterbrained's first villager moving out to the shoreline on water here on Holy Island. Baltune and the color red playing as the English, likewise also going for the early Dark Age dock.
Yeah, Dark Age docks on both sides. First thing that I always look for as far as the Zushi's legacy goes on this map is going to be, where is that meditation gardens going to be placed? Where's the prime time spot if there is one? And nothing too crazy that I'm seeing pop out on me. There's a couple decent spots, but nothing just absorbently OP.
Yeah, nothing absolutely crazy. There are some really good spots over on Baltune's side, I have to say. But that is so typical. Whenever you play Shushi's Legacy and you look at the spawns of your opponent, you're like, man, I wish I had this guy's spawn. And because, like, right next to the dock, like, look at this spot.
That one.
Look at this spot. Is this a spot where you just say, okay, screw it, I'm going to move everything forward. I'm just going to put a meditation garden over on my opponent's side? Realistically, there's double stone there. You can just spam outpost emplacements, one outpost emplacement every minute for free.
I mean, it's just crazy to think about that. There is double stone on his side, but you don't quite have the extra gold, the extra berries as well to support it. So we'll see how aggressive Scatterbrained will decide to be with his meditation gardens. It might just be a more conservative one in his base, but for now, it's producing those fishing boats, and Scatterbrained decides the deep sea fish is a little far away, wants to just go ahead and start on the shoreline.
Yeah, that is also something where shoreline fish in general have been receiving a couple of buffs here and there. Now they also have a little bit more capacity for food on them, up from 500 to 600. Kind of wild to think back in the day, they actually had like 1,000 food in there as well, like on the shoreline fish.
Yeah,
still...
I mean, water has been changed so many times, and a lot of necessary changes where it at least feels like water is a bit more balanced, and it's not the end of the world losing water. It still usually means you lose the game, but there's still plenty of times we have seen that not prove to be the true story.
Yeah, and also always tends to happen when you lose like a whole bunch of the economy. But as you mentioned, yeah, comeback potential definitely still in the game. We've seen players just refocusing onto land very early on after they realize that water is not something that is worth contesting for them anymore, and still end up winning those type of games.
You can see now these players, Baltune just moves out to the gold here now. Scatterbrained, probably not too far himself from making that swap. He's going ahead and dropping a second dock, though. Wants a little bit more fishing investment in this Dark Age. Wants to kind of try to give himself a leg up. Having that second dock so important, too, once military ships start getting produced in Feudal Age.
Both players now moving out to gold with some villagers, so I'm going to be looking for that age up at some point along there as well. Still really wondering what spot Scatterbrained is going to be going for when it comes to his meditation garden. Can we take a quick look actually and see what type of vision he has, what kind of spots he already has seen so far out on the map? Okay, so he's now scouting around the right-hand side, so he's going to be finding that double stone mine alongside the gold there at the bottom. Think maybe you can get both the stone and the gold in one meditation garden. That could potentially also be a play.
Yeah, if the deer were berries instead, I'm sure he'd be happy to place it next to the wood line, get double stone, food, and wood. But instead, we will end up seeing what he decides for here. There are the bigger 8K gold in the middle with the bigger stone vein as well. But that is quite a far distance to walk. Where Baltune, he's already starting the age up with the Abbey of the Kings. 60 seconds till that finishes up.
And the villagers are actually moving forward, so that might be the spot that Scatterbrained goes for. But no, looks like he's decided to go for the double stone outcropping instead. We do see villagers moving out.
Is that 5 villagers too? So needs to get this up quick, he feels like, and quick he does as he is starting this age up quite a bit behind. Does get 2 of the berry bushes in there at least, so a little bit of extra food for himself. 5 villagers might mean he, I feel like he still has to move back. I don't know if he's going to drop outposts and try to stick up out on the deer, as it just becomes an easy location for Baltune to continue to try to pressure there with the king.
Yeah, definitely could be the case. Scout behind all of this, also harassing the mining camp a little bit, just getting a little bit of damage in there early on. Not just a little bit, actually, already getting it down to half HP. Abbey of Kings now finishing up, so Baltune will soon have access to that king spawning in for free. A little cavalry unit to be able to harass a little bit. Already a ton of villagers on gold for Baltune, so this kind of gives me the impression at least that he's looking for a very quick Admiralty research timing.
Yeah, and Scatterbrained is moving back with those villagers. Burning the mining camp is one of those things that doesn't seem like this as much while we're observing, while we're casting. But when you're playing the game, it messes up some of these timings. And as we see the villager now starting to repair it, you know, the forced drop-offs on gold become harder and more difficult. You know, eats into some of your wood economy, which is so important in these early feudal age battles on the water.
Actually seeing some horsemen coming in now from Scatterbrained. Already double ship in production from Baltune. Going for double sprinkled ship now as well. Already having a lot of gold in the bank, and there it is. Admiralty has been clicked up now. At a point where Scatterbrained doesn't have a lot out on water, so not a lot of ships to really stop Baltune from just completely demolishing him out there.
Yeah, I mean, he's behind in ships, actually, whereas Baltune has the upgrade already in, starting to move across with his units, as well as the king even here. Might try to pick off the villager building the docks, gathering the shoreline fish with that king. Instead, runs into some horsemen first.
Horsemen do have to be wary of the king at least a little bit, and now with Admiralty, you can just tell Baltune he's going to be able to kite all day long with his sprinkled ship. Scatterbrained, he's going to be a little bit on the back foot here when it comes to actually taking any effective engagements against that.
Yeah, especially when that sprinkled ship number starts to get a little bit higher, which Baltune already getting 2 more sprinkled ships in queue. He is ready to win this water fight, and as that number gets higher and higher now, all those sprinkled ships, you know, if fishing gets left alone, your fishing boats get picked off. If you're taking sprinkled ship trades, you're just not getting the same amount of attacks off. And Scatterbrained's actually using this time to get the fishing upgrade.
Feels a little bit greedy considering that he needs a lot more ships out on the field now. Baltune behind this, still 2 more in queue. While Scatterbrained only has half the numbers out on the field.
Yeah, horsemen not proving to be too effective against that king as well. Baltune went on home, but traded out some damage. At least protected his economy for the time being. But Baltune's reinforcements on water now are about to arrive, and Scatter is kind of now having to move himself all the way over to the corner, feeling boxed in, feeling cornered over here, and Baltune is just going to continue up this pressure. Looks like might be getting some dock emplacements there to try to help on out with this pressure.
Yeah, utilizing all of the free stone now, as you said, for some placement. First emplacement shot is going to come in. Could potentially force Baltune back a little bit, who has now also switched into some demo ships as well. Just realizing that Scatterbrained hasn't actually invested too much into water so far. Noticing that that is an opportunity for him to do damage and exploit it.
Yeah, and with that many sprinkled ships, Baltune can just push forward, take down the one single galley on Scatterbrained's side, and then those demos don't have too much effective defenses from the other side. Scatterbrained getting some demos himself, though, seeing how many Springle chips Baltune has invested into. Fishing boat does get sniped on out. Demo ship immediately sniped out by the massive Springle chips and the dock emplacement. So Baltune now getting a little bit more even on the water numbers, just has that extra bit of range going for himself.
And we do have the king doing a lot of damage here into the wood line of Scatterbrained. 2 villagers, or 2 economic units overall, already went down. But the villagers are going to be able to take down the king there. Lots of idle time.
King will fall, but that's so much idle time forced from those wood villagers. You know, they stop their chopping, they start having to pull their shivs out, and it wasn't just one, you know, quick shiv. Those villagers shived 4, 5, 6 different times, so just a lot of delay on the wood economy here. Baltune, though, taking this time to fall back on water, get another king on out, and has spears now on land as well. So Scatterbrained went for the early horseman play. Now Baltune has the defense there needed and can continue to push and force Scatterbrained into maybe a different military composition on land as well.
Yeah, that's a ton of demo ships for Scatterbrained at the moment. Not sure what exactly the follow-up plan is going to be here for the time being. I feel like it's very difficult for him to... Actually, this could be the opening that he needs. Baltune, he did move back very far into the space with the ship, so could find himself a little bit cornered there to the shoreline, as there is actually an engagement on water going on right now. All the demo ships moving forward. Bit by bit are going to get taken down, though. There is an archer ship in the mast there as well. More demo ships, though, from the side. Are going to get found out probably in time.
Baltune
it is a nice
leaving
situation.
his fishing boats on out, though, so will lose quite a bit of economy from this push from Scatter, but Scatter loses all his demos, needs to watch out for flanking demo ships as well. Baltune 3 different demos in queue, and Scatter doesn't really have... I don't see the galley here on the front side. I know he has one out there.
It's still there, but now...
Demos.
On the retreat, it's going to be a lot more difficult for Scatterbrained to actually retreat. Actually, he's doing a great job. He's doing a great job when it comes to the retreat. Doesn't lose any ships back there. Has demo ships in order to additionally just be able to create a gap between him and Baltune's ships. And yeah, he did
really
take down a lot
there.
of the fishing ships.
King, though, again on the wood line, and Scatterbrained just doesn't have any land units to deal with this king. Trying to garrison on up, trying to find somewhere for these villagers to go. And there's just nowhere right now, so whole entire land economy is basically idled now for Scatter just from this single king.
Yeah, he's getting a lot of value out of it, Baltune is. Horsemen now coming in again. There are still some weak villagers around there that could be picked off very easily, and it looks like Baltune's realizing that as one villager down, second villager already targeted. The third weak villager does get put inside the village, so will not be taken down so easily.
Still, that forced quite a bit of reaction from Scatter, and look at what Baltune's plan is behind this. Has moved quite a bit of villagers over to the sheep, still has a little bit of fishing, but more importantly, he is going up to castle age here soon. Oh, seeing the double products invested into this late feels so bad when you've used so many villagers on wood for so long.
Question is, though, is Scatterbrained going to give Baltune the opportunity here to really make any use out of Castle Age, because he's now pushing with a ton of demo ships on water yet again. He is not letting up. All the additional attack range, though, for Baltune does allow him to kite very effectively here early on. But bit by bit, the gap is getting closer and closer.
Baltune trying to kite back, trying to hit these demos as he's moving away. Galleys can't turn, though, because of Scatter's sprinkled ships. Needs to just hope for his own demo plays. Still continuing to snipe down these demos before they land their connections. Such a good job by Baltune with that kiting. And now Scatter, has he overstepped here? One more demo does get sniped out.
More demo ships coming. They're just a little bit further away. Demo ship coming in from the back. Doesn't react immediately.
It was just a few steps short, and now Scatter's next 2 demos have arrived here. Baltune immediately trying to focus them down before they get on top of his sprinkled chips. One more left.
Oh, huge connection!
3.
That was an insanely big reaction. King's Palace now coming for Baltune. You realize he needs an additional TC landmark rather than a castle now. After losing water like that, Scatterbrained is not far behind when it comes to finding his own age of timing as well.
What a great timing play here from Scatter. He has now taken over this water. He's going to start to try to take down these docks, and Baltune is just going to make the full transition onto land, but this is at a point where Scatter's got 12 extra fishing boats working for him still, so that King's Palace is going to take quite a bit of a time to actually pay off here.
Now demo ship coming in. Baltune gets a big connection.
Is able to get some sprinkled ship pickups, but I feel like at this point all that's going to force Scatterbrained to do is just invest into the sprinkled ship economy just a little bit less. He's already got 5 demo ships ready and waiting there, ready to take down these docks as is. So Baltune has essentially been fully denied off of water. If Scatterbrained does want to blow these up, I'm pretty sure he can go ahead and take down both of those docks.
Yeah. At the same time, Castle Age also reached by him. Yeah, he does. Big explosion coming in. Now all docks having been taken down, and both players in the Castle Age. Baltune with that second TC, but for the time being, he's still going to be behind by quite a bit when it comes to the overall income.
Yeah, that food economy is just really hurting for Baltune. You can see he's at 290 food per minute, and he has moved on quite a few villagers over to the deer next to that King's Palace, but this will not be an easy task for him to compete with Zhu Ji that has full control of water.
Spearman's still on that meditation garden. Reducing the income there a little bit. Not enough horsemen here in order to really do any meaningful damage. Yeah, Baltune actually just using the short bows, even with the ranged armor, doing significant damage to that horseman. Could potentially get one villager kill here. It's getting rather close, though.
I think he loses the horseman does not get the pick off before he ends up falling. Next knight that arrives for Scatter also deterred away from the knight and king push. The big benefit Baltune has for himself right now is just that king push with his knights. He can always pull back those lower health knights, and Scatter trying to combat that with some healing of his own with the monks and also securing up these relics. Look at the knight number difference though. This is just the food difference though.
Oh, he is. Baltune, though, manages to pick up one of the relics here behind this. He's going to have to bring it back. He still, of course, has the Abbey, so is going to be able to get some really good healing on those knights if he's able to keep them alive. Little engagement getting taken now in the midfield. One knight distracting. Is he going to make it out alive? He has very low HP. Another charge could take him down. He needs to support or rather defend the TC here. Defensive Wololo could potentially be coming in.
Wololo does come through. One knight falls for Baltune. Scout falls for Baltune as well. So that healing not going to be able to be utilized on those couple units. Scatterbrained is moving his lower health lancers back to that monk capturing the sacred site to get some healing of his own.
Outpost now getting put up by Baltune at the front side. Knight still going for a dive here though. Little TC garrison move there as well, getting the villagers on the other side of the TC to safety. And there's a lot of villagers from Baltune at the goal that is close to the shoreline, but I think that's just barely out of range for the ships from Scatterbrained to give him the information on that.
Yeah, Baltune at least taking some decent trades here to start out, and he will need more than decent trades to be able to combat this water economy that Scatterbrained has just bloomed into. 22 fishing boats on his side.
He is moving into some crossbows now as well. It's going to be a great move if he's able to get a decent mass of them, but Scatterbrained not going to give Baltune a lot of time, is going for a dive yet again. But all of these little engagements with enough time for Baltune to utilize the healing in between kind of makes it feel like Baltune's just getting an insane amount of time here to really get his unit mass going. And we see the continued engagement. Maybe this is a little bit too ambitious though for Baltune. Looks like he realizes does pull back, but lose a couple of knights. Even trade though so far.
Yeah, 2 for 2, but that is not what Baltune needs is even trades. He needs some more positive trades than that. doesn't yet have enough stone in the bank for sprinkled emplacements for... Oh! Villagers! Jump inside a little bit late. 3 get taken out in the blink of an eye here. Villagers jumping inside to garrison, have some extra arrow fire, but Scatterbrained fine with taking this trade, especially if he's able to clean up the lower health knights and make sure they do not get healed back up, make sure they do not come back at full health. Baltune pulling 2 of those away at super low health.
Cannot even go for a turn here. Yeah, is going to end up losing both of them. Still more crossbows make it out onto the field with some kiting. There's still a chance of Baltune, considering that he's still on 2 TC behind all of this, has a ton of gold in the bank, might need a market just to stabilize the economy a little bit.
Yeah, is trying to make that transition into the English farming economy, but Woodline's getting dove upon. That's the thing with Scatter, is he can take these engagements head on with his Lancers, and then also still spare a few out and about for these raids, as we've seen so much of Baltune's economy getting idled out here. Another Lancer falls. Maybe.
Relics have been utilized great here so far when it comes to just buying Baltune a little bit more time. Up to 10 crossbows now. Still a lot more knights out on the field from Scatterbrained, now also switching into horsemen.
Yeah, the horseman swap's going to be so crucial for Scatter here. He can actually just dive that crossbow mass and not feel like he is losing some of these high value units with the 17 Lancers that he does have. Baltune clearing up another Lancer raid. His gold, though, about to be rushed, it looks like.
To 14 horsemen already. The numbers climbed quite quickly here. And Baltune doesn't have a real answer at the moment to this. The horsemen, I think, also have been kept relatively hidden, though they are being shown now. Scatterbrained moving forward. Baltune sees this now. He's remassing some knights, but this could be a little bit too late. This could be a decisive fight now. Horsemen are making their way straight onto the crossbows. Crossbows have to go back, diving between the stables as the knights move on to the villagers. Great choke point, though, from Baltune. With the knights on the other hand side, he's able to take a good fight, or rather a good engagement here, all things considered, but still a lot of idle time as he's still losing the crossbow mass to the horsemen.
Yeah, just so many units here for Scatter, and again, even with this trade, he knows at home he's having none of his economy touched. He is not having anything to worry about. Fishing economy is still booming, and he is finding idle time. He is finding damage. This is looking like a game-ending move for Scatter. He ties up the series 1-1 after the Holy Island gameplay.
And GG, Scatterbrained able to even out the set in the second game, so now the score is going to be 1-1 between these two. And yeah, looking at the resources, that was just, for a little bit, it looked like Baltune had gotten enough damage in early on with the ships on water, with the early Admiralty research, but Scatterbrained did not want to lose out on water, did just continue reinvesting time and time again, and then with the huge demo ship push, able to take complete control over water, Baltune, even with that second TC landmark, was not able to even out the economy in time.
Yeah, really good map number 2 there from Scatter. It felt like Baltune had a lot going for himself, especially with the Admiralty, especially with him just being able to make some of those early pushes, some of those early trades. But Scatter with the... You mentioned the 3D boys. They kind of, I feel like, took this from Vortex and Lucifron, but we've seen a lot of the 3D players do the mass demo ships as well after kind of stabilizing on water for a good little bit, and that's exactly what Scatter did there as well. He all of a sudden had 9 demo ships that just closed the gap, and yeah, the first 5, 6 got sniped out without getting any damage, but all you need is one great demo to end the fight and end an engagement, and that's exactly what Scatter ended up getting.
Yeah, he did it very methodically, just pushing Baltune deeper and deeper, rather back into the into his space on water there, or into the back of the map, until eventually there was just no place to kite. And when you can't kite, Admiralty starts to not give you any more value. With that, able to take control on water there. From there on out, it just kind of spiraled a little bit more and more as the game went on. Next up, though, we can already see the next map here. It is going to be Socotra, and we're going to be seeing the Chinese coming in from Baltune up against the Golden Horde from Scatterbrained. I gotta say, like, this is gonna be an interesting one because there is one Boar on this map. It is right in the middle. Both of these civilizations can gather from the Boar. One has the potential of getting a reinforced outpost in, as the Golden Horde. The other can either make a normal outpost or potentially try and go for a Barbican rush onto it as well with the landmark. The question is what exactly the choice is going to end up being here, especially early on. I feel like Golden Horde, of course, only spawning with 5 instead of 6 villagers, probably don't have what it takes to immediately combat Chinese on the Boar play if both civilizations try and go for it.
Yeah, and the boar play is so important on Socotra, not just for the extra food, although that is a huge importance of it. It's also for that just mid-map control. There's always a point with Socotra where it feels like 10, 15 minutes into the game, all of a sudden there's an outpost and wall in between those two big wood lines, and it makes it so hard for your opponent to circle, get any raiding, get any economic damage done, and sometimes just get information about your other side as well.
Yeah, information, of course, on a map as small as this is going to be very important, just to know what kind of units your opponent is making, just to know if they're going out to the sides, because the game does become relatively predictable, or rather the game plan for your opponent does become relatively predictable just because of the way the resources are positioned on the map. And yeah, just either your opponent goes to the left side or they go to the right-hand side. There's no real in-between. Either way, you're going to be clashing with them when it comes to the gathering of the resources out on the map.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny seeing the Civ picks for Baltune with HRE in China. This feels like, if this were 2 years ago, you'd be like, oh, this is a closed-in, boomy map. It's, we're about to be going to late game. And no, it's Socotra. It's a very kind of aggressive, not a ton of room. Yeah, you can kind of wall yourself off a bit, but there's not a lot of just easy ways to just have a free boomed up economy. And that's one where it's weird seeing these Civs grow over time with the way AoE4 has gone.
Yeah, it's a very face-to-face type situation where you can see what your opponent is doing, your opponent can see what you're doing, and at the same time, even with knowing these kind of things, you're still trying to get positive trades out there with all that information out there. Yeah, it's gonna be quite a clustered engagement, I want to say, onto the Boar here early on, potentially. Could be seeing some Koresh alongside some Spearmen early on from the Golden Horde. That would be one of the ways that this could be played. China, they got enough wood at the moment to just go for a very early outpost.
Yeah, and I mean, it's funny seeing these two civs match up because China, they're the civ that can always just alter their game plan so quick with Imperial officials, with the extra building speed, the supervision, and just all of a sudden they can swap from horsemen to spears to archers or Zhuge super quick. Meanwhile, Golden Horde, their Golden Horde's a little bit the opposite, where they have to wait a little bit longer for their units to come on out. Yeah, they get batches, but it's one that, they're kind of committing harder into one versus the other side.
Indeed. Now, less than a minute, 35 seconds separating us from our game number 3. Whoever wins this one is going to be on match points. So just one more victory after this one in order to be able to finish out a set. It's a lot of tempo or whoever wins this one, as they're going to be setting themselves up for a potential 3-1 victory. But plenty of times we've seen these best of 5s going all the way to game number 5, and you kind of have to take that into account as well when you're drafting with the maps, of course. You have to have a plan for every single one of these maps, and looking at it overall from the civilizations that are still available for these players, they definitely do still have a lot of options for every single map here. Now, I believe it is time for us to jump into our game number 3, Socotra, right around the corner.
Yeah, here we go. Sure enough, timer is at 0.
Just getting baited a little bit every now and then, but here we go. All right, there it is. And what do we have going on over here? It looks like Baltune indeed is going forward with all of his villagers. And oh, we're getting an early stable in from Scatterbrained. Baltune did lure the Boar quite a bit further towards his base, but could still get found out there by a couple of horsemen.
Yeah, it doesn't have any outpost up. Obviously, walls, even if you built it on the center, could get horsemen would just circle back around. But Baltune will have to run on away with those villagers if those early horsemen arrive here soon. No knowledge and information of it. Baltune is not on the wood line, so there will be no outpost for those villagers. It's just feeling like he doesn't have to worry about any pressure here.
Horsemen are now going to be in queue. It is going to be a batch of produced horsemen, though, so it will take a little bit longer for those to come out. Can we also quickly check the mill, see if Baltune already went for survival techniques? I don't think he's researched it quite yet. Yeah, it hasn't been researched yet, so isn't going to be getting that super fast gather speed from the Boar. But sometimes these are the kind of things where you can't quite risk it because you will assume that your opponent's going to push you off the Boar eventually anyways.
Yeah, one thing is a really good job by Baltune on splitting the damage on those villagers. There's so many times you see someone go for the Boar and they have one villager at like 2 health and it gets picked off by the scout. Well, if that had happened, these horsemen would get free picks. Very quick reaction from Baltune. Horsemen are trying to focus. That lower health villager will pick up. One villager trying to go for a second one here can dive the TC and get a second villager pickup at the 2.5 minute mark of this game. Scatterbrained is feeling great.
That was some insane value here from Scatter. Able to get a huge villager lead early on, or rather evening out the villager count against Civilization that starts with one more villager. And, you know, Golden Horde, of course, they do produce in batches, the villagers as well. But they do get a little bit of a discount, of a little bit of a faster villager production queue there. So eventually they are going to pull ahead in the villager department.
Yeah, and I mean, that's one where Scatter is already ahead now. That is, it's so crazy. I mean, 2 villager picks at the 20-minute mark isn't too big of a deal, but 2 villager picks at the 2.5 minute mark when Baltune had a total of 11 villagers, that's basically 20% of an economy gone.
We do see the Imperial Academy coming in now. That is one of the ways, of course, for China to get a little bit back on that economy. Getting those 4 Imperial officials in with a pretty hefty discount on them as well. Golden Tent coming up behind us now for Scatterbrained, so we'll be getting his age-up building in soon. Similar to the Apposite or the Ayubits.
Scout now being forced on back.
It's not getting taken down. Sheep could potentially... No, gets the sheep out alive there as well. It's going to move back over to the mill just to make sure that there's not going to be any research happening there. Or that is going to have to be rebuilt later on down the line. Age-up has come in now for Baltune, though. Do we already have a production building coming in for him? For the moment, it's just a lot of villagers on food, so it looks to just be trying to get out the Imperial officials as quickly as possible.
And if there is a production building coming for Baltune, it will be scouted out as the good old scouting era was utilized for Scatterbrained. He can see what's going on. And Scatterbrained, we already see it, is going to be the one trying to take over that Boar play for himself now.
Yeah, Mill is going to spot that fortified outpost just as it is coming in. So will be setting himself up with quite a forward position here. Will have a lot of vision over Baltune's base and subsequently will have a very nice pressure point where he can move forward on from.
Yeah, I mean, this is just such a lovely position here for Scatterbrained to be in. Age-up coming through. It was Khan and Torgoods. Instead, it's building carts. So decided on a little bit of a swap here. Khan and Torgoods has been the age-up that most players lean into, but there have been a few exceptions where we see building carts utilized.
Yeah, building carts, it's a little bit of an odd one, of course. I mean, you still get a lot of value out of it. It's a very tempo-oriented play. It's just that the building carts themselves are not that fast, and they also do take in my opinion, unreasonable amount of time to set up. Like, they're not quick when it comes to their setup time.
Yep, and we'll see what buildings Scatterbrained ends up opting for once that age-up does finish. Boar Gathering is now starting. A little bit of a some wall segments being dropped here.
Oh, forward walls. Not something that the Mongols have access to, but the Golden Horde do.
Yeah, stopping the Barbican drop, I think, is what these are, these wall segments are for. The spear, though, is out and will deter the walls from fully, you know, going down. Let's see if there's a spot that Baltune could potentially try to get this Barbican up on.
Yeah, he's got the resource for it. Villagers are now going to be moving in. And looks like he's managed to... Yeah, and that is perfectly in range of the boar as well. So we'll get the Barbican in. We'll be able to support, or rather protect the deer. And also deny the boar from Scatterbrained.
Yeah, Scatterbrained knew what was going to be planned. The spears are here. The horsemen are not going to be able to do anything for Scatter. Building carts, Feudal Age, going to be finished basically when the, you know, a few seconds before the Barbican does. So there isn't really a lot of counterplay that Scatterbrained can do to this. And might just have to run on home with those villagers that made the trek out for that boar.
Yeah, I can keep the horsemen inside the outpost at the very least, so it's going to be a little bit difficult for Baltune at least to get onto that boar. He's going to first have to take the outpost down. Scatterbrained now behind this. Are we just going to be seeing like double archer range? Because he did gather up a lot of wood beforehand, so it could be a double archer range as well. Just to get a lot of archers out onto the field. I have to take a look into his base to see what exactly the plan is going to be with those cards. Oh, not out then. Where are they going? Where are they? Okay, yeah, it is double archer range right next to the outpost there.
Yeah, so we are about to see a huge mass of archers come out of nowhere. Meanwhile, Baltune, he's making the swaps on over to Chooks.
Yeah, with that early Song Dynasty, of course, able to unlock the Jugunu. Now going for the second archer range as well, so we'll just be massing those for the time being. Very good unit to have up against the archer play from Scatterbrained. Scatterbrained does, of course, have access to Kashix as well, which did recently get nerfed, so I have a little bit more health, and health, or rather maximum HP, being probably one of the best stat alongside just a little bit of armor to be having up against these Jugunu.
Alright, so now that these units are starting to mass up, you can see Scatter going ahead and moving out to some deer himself. Baltune does not have any good raiding unit out and about yet, so can't really put any pressure on those deer on that play. He's just massing up this infantry army for the time being. Meanwhile, Scatter is just doubling down into his archer play.
He needs to have a really, really big mass of archers, as the archers themselves do not do any bonus damage up against the Jugunu. So you need a greater number of them to be able to one-shot there. Meanwhile, the Jugunu doing their full damage up against the archers. It's one of the main reasons why they can trade out very, very efficiently, and why some armored units at the front line are going to be needed here for Scatterbrained. Karash is going to be great when it comes to just giving that little bit of additional armor onto the entire army from Scatterbrained. We are now going to be seeing some Torgut coming in alongside the Batukan.
Yeah, Baltune has been constantly investing into spears, so while it felt bad looking at the, you know, situation that we're in, looking at what Scatter's doing, now that Scatter is not just producing archers, the spears makes a little bit more sense and doesn't feel as bad for Baltune as far as his production of them. Up to 3 IOs out on the field. Hasn't quite decided he needs a fourth one yet, but tax gold being brought in and supervision is being utilized to its fullest. No spears here with these few chooks, so might see oh, there's the rest of the army reacting to it.
Archers going around the other hand side, so it's going to be a double-sided attempt to do some damage here. Those Jukes are going to at the very least be able to take down some of these horsemen here, scout alongside them. No blacksmith upgrades in yet, and Scatterbrained going for siege engineering, so could be seeing some rams coming in here soon.
Yeah, Scatter is ready to try to take down this Barbican location. It looks like take down that deer gathering. But Baltune has done such a good job of just continually massing up units and respecting this feudal age from Scatter.
Yeah, that's going to be quite tough, I feel like, for Scatterbrained to really take any of these fights. Like, Jugunu are kind of insane. A little bit unreasonably so when it comes to dealing with these ranged units. You really just need an absolute ton of heavily armored units to be able to tank up there. just enough archers to be able to take down the spearmen, but after that, you're gonna need cavalry units to take down the Jugunu.
Yeah, and it feels so bad with one single ram to try to take down something like the Barbican. There's the second one as well. Even 2 rams, it's not the easiest to take down the Barbican with villagers hopping in and out, doing some rebuilding. Those Chinese villagers with the hammer just work overtime as well. So will not, it's definitely easier said than done here on some of these pushes, but Scatterbrained is ready for it. He is trying to close this gap, trying to take down this Barbican location.
Barbican is actually going to end up being a key location here now for Baltune, as he started making a granary farm transition behind it. So definitely is going to need to keep this location safe.
Yeah, so getting some extra food income in from that granary swap, knows that he was running lower on the deer, hasn't been able to resecure the boar for himself, as obviously that is where Scatter is attacking from. But Rams haven't been able to do anything yet. Army circling around the right side, about to clash into each other, but instead they just kind of have one shot each for each other.
No crashing yet. Spearmen trying to defend up against the knights. Jugunu trying their best to just focus down the archers. It's a little back and forth at the time for the time being. Jugunu still sticking onto the archers. Rams in the meantime also going for the attack onto the Barbican.
Yeah,
Baltune
villagers could just
back.
get pulled, try to do a little bit of torch damage, but might just be in range of the outpost as well. Archers, though, able to fire across the wood line, pick up another villager.
Army count in favor for Baltune. Military value also in favor for him by quite a bit at this point in time. And Jugunu, with their minimum of 3 damage, are going to be able to take down the ram without stepping in range of the outpost. And now Baltune going for his own ram.
Yeah, it's crazy. Once that juke number just starts building up so much, the Rams feel like they're not actually effective at all. They get taken down so quickly. Granary transition has gotten bigger and bigger as well for Baltune, so him lacking the movement out to the deer, him lacking the food income of the boar, things like that, made up for a little bit by this transition, although he has been giving up quite a bit of resources to make this transition, and that has allowed Scatter to go up to castle.
Archers trying to defend at the front side. Skoviasak has just been queued, so Castle Age on the horizon for Scatterbrained, but very far on the horizon. It's still going to be 100 seconds before that is going to actually be coming to fruition. Fight being taken around the fortified outpost here. We do see the
Rams
edict
just
coming
getting
in.
thrown, being annoying as could be. Spears take down the Rams. Chooks taking the initial engagement here, and Scatterbrained needs to turn around, needs to run. Will lose this production, will lose this forward location that he has, lose that boar gathering, even though he hasn't been on it, but will give Baltune the ability to go and snag some boar income as well.
I'm not sure about the Muscoviasic here, Dabson, I have to be honest. Sure, Scatterbrained is going to be getting the additional +2 armor on his armored units, but at the same time, Jugunu don't do that much damage baseline. It's just, they still have that minimum of 3 damage that they end up doing. The Muscovy Yasek doesn't really change the play there.
Yep. First range taken down, second range taken down as well. Outpost going to be dropped on the in between these 2 wood lines for Baltune as well to kind of start this line in the sand, moved forward a little bit more, and not only is that thing moving forward, he sees the massive villagers. Scatterbrained has not reacted yet. 1 villager down, 2 villagers down. More importantly, food economy idled during this such an important time while he's going up to castle, and Baltune is fine with taking trades for a little bit, doesn't want to go on with the full dive, loses a few chooks, but Scatter is now fully on the gold with 0 on food.
Yeah, that is a massive deal now at the moment. Muscoviasak just 5 more seconds until that is going to complete. At the same time, we do see some units here from Scatterbrained coming in immediately onto the gold vein from Baltune, trying to do some damage inside of his base, and they're actually going to be able to find some units here to take down. They do, of course, immediately get the +2 armor from the Muscoviasak, so these guys are a little bit tankier against the arrow fire from the TC. Jugunu's still going to do the same damage.
Villagers and IO got confused where to run with the village with the TC. There were too many spots. They couldn't decide which spot to go try to house themselves in. but Baltune's military numbers in general is just so much to deal with. Even if Scatter has a lot of these Castle Age units that he can have with the extra armor, 40 Chooks can just about take out whatever they want in small numbers.
We do see the veterancy upgrades coming in on the archers, and there's still a good bunch of them out. No, loses some of the knights. Heavy losses there. Archers, they don't have the upgrades in yet. Just about. Baltune actually creeping forward with the outpost spam.
Yeah, and this is what I mean by those Chooks in small numbers. Scatterbrained's trying to dive, trying to use that armored front line to, you know, tank up some of that fire. It's just not enough when there's that many Chooks out, when your numbers are that thin compared to your opponents here.
Scatterbrained with the market did try and buy himself, or rather even out a little bit of the resource difference there. More outposts coming in for Baltune behind this. Do keep in mind, Scatterbrained with the Golden Horde, he's only got 2 landmarks that could get sniped down. 60 to 16 military out on the field right now.
Yeah, I mean, Scatter lost the majority of his production with the forward production buildings that he had earlier on, and he's trying to take down the Rams here. They are an outpost fire. Military is a little bit out of position for Baltune to be able to protect that on up. But this outpost creep is so annoying and frustrating to deal with when you don't have a big melee mass to just burn down these towers. And we can clearly tell that Scatterbrained does not have a big melee mass here.
Yeah, might need a couple of men-at-arms just to be able to have a little bit of a front line. But it's also an expensive switch to be making at this point around, or at least in general, an expensive unit to be making. Would not have a lot of the mobility, and fight is getting taken here. Does have the veterancy, does have the +2 pierce damage, does not have the +2 pierce armor. Baltune is trying to step up. Bonus attack damage is coming in now from the Batu Khan. More archers on the defense. It's still just the Jugunu being so effective against these unarmored units. Makes these trades not effective for Scatterbrained.
Yeah, just losing more and more units, giving Baltune more and more time for more outposts, more upgrades on these outposts as well. Spears just proving to be that annoying front line to not allow the Cav to get on top of the Chook mass. And trades just not going efficiently for Scatterbrained. Still, Baltune taking more and more of this small map.
Archers actually not taking the worst trades here at the moment, though. Scatterbrained still has good income behind this somehow. Some units are being raided, though, on the left-hand side, potentially, by an archer ship. Scatterbrained losing a couple of villagers here. Losing a lot of villagers! Losing a lot! Oh my god.
That's so much denial here, just barely able to get extra damage onto the rest of those units. Scatterbrained so focused on this fight in the middle, so focused on this kiting, so focused on making sure the trades are as good as possible that he is losing all of those villagers on the food.
That is absolutely brutal. He hasn't realized yet, but might realize soon. Coming from Baltune, there's not that many units remaining here now, though. A little economy graph in there, just showing how dire the situation is now behind all of this.
It's crazy seeing both of their economies just hit like a flat line, just having losses, maybe getting distracted. Both players having quite a bit of TC idle time during all of this as well. Oh, and the next berry spot got sniped out as well. Brutal. Both berries on that west side are able to be sniped out by the galley, so great job by Baltune knowing where Scatter is cornered to just have the extra resources, have that extra time to make that swap. It is still feudal age for Baltune, though. Is he overstepping this? Is there a time here where you just stop with the outpost spam and go up to castle yourself?
It's just continuous, non-stop outpost spam, and now he's also getting the fortifications on them. Jugunu finding the villagers on the wood line. Those need to get pulled back there as well. And there's just no wood access at the moment for Scatterbrained. He has to dive forward with the archers, with the couple of Torguts that he has, or Keshiks. These fights are so hard to take underneath all of these outpost emplacements.
And full committing is happening to Scatter. He's forced to take these fights because of the ram, because of this outpost spam, the movement up, the lack of wood, and the next berry bush sniped out by the galley as well, so just cannot find a spot to gather food safely. More fights going down. Numbers still being thinned. It's looking a little better for Scatter than it did earlier as far as the military numbers go, but not really an end in sight for him as far as production and economy goes.
He's trying to get the first outpost down here now with his own ram. But has only archers remaining. It's just such a big mass here of the Zhuge-Nu. Scatterbrained, he's losing the means to produce more units at this point in time. Batukan in queue again. Archers jumping inside of the TC. Trying to get some semblance of safety. Is the outpost even going to go get taken down?
No, the villagers are out healing the ram. Baltune could have easily... oh, they pull out the torches instead? And they saved the outpost from going down just barely. Another outpost outline is almost finished. Scatterbrained having to gather wood from straggler trees in the middle. I'm surprised he hasn't tried to move to the stealth forest as well. Actually, villagers are naturally moving over to the stealth forest.
Baltune trying to look for the villagers, but they did get pulled. With all of these outposts, Baltune knows exactly where the entire economy is from Scatterbrained. He just has full vision over on the base of Scatterbrained. Scatterbrained going for another ram now. I'm surprised that he still is able to just field any military units at this point, but Baltune now up to almost 60 Zhuge-Nu and knocking on the door. Still, only 2 landmarks available to the Gold Lord.
The villagers are just continually moving out to all these different spots, and I mean, Scatterbrained has to try to take this fight. Look at the villagers of Scatter. They don't know where to gather from. They're just circling. There's so much idle time. It's crazy to think about where Baltune came from at the start of this game, losing 2 villagers on the Boar, getting pushed in, holding the push, and now just staying in Feudal Age in the full commit to outpost spam push.
72, 74, and more Zhuge-Nu coming onto the field now. Baltune getting some walls up along the left-hand side as well. Villagers completely dismantling the stealth forest.
The outpost got finished, so Baltune does lose the vills, but that is another massive part of the map that is denied now with that outpost from Baltune, so ship can be a little bit more focused. The villagers, they're actually running to where the galley's going.
Oh, and the galley's getting some big shots.
Oh my gosh!
Villagers inside the TC, archers around the TC, but it's just not enough units. Over 100 military now from Baltune. He says enough, and he is just completely overwhelming Scatterbrained space. We see villagers getting pulled for some form of aggression now onto the outpost from Scatterbrained, but the outpost around the TC is just simply not enough in order to deal with this many Zhuge-Nus.
Who needs rams when you have ranged units, Crackety? That's what they say in this game.
Typically, you add more wood to a building, it gets stronger, but it doesn't look to be the case here. Must be some special arrow bolts.
So many bolts going to be left in that TC by the end of this game. Scatterbrained finally throws in the towel. This one has to hurt to lose after the start that he had after the feeling of this game. Baltune up 2-1, and probably a huge breath of fresh air after the first couple minutes on the way that game was going.
Yeah, that was a very, very messy one here, especially after the start. Great opening by Scatterbrained. Super good Barbican positioning there from Baltune, able to deny the Boar, able to secure the deer. And with the Zhuge-Nu play, like Scatterbrained just did not quite have what it takes there, composition-wise, to be able to deal with so many Zhuge-Nus.
Yeah, I feel like if he was able to secure that food, the berries that Baltune denied so hard there at the 19-20 minute mark, it might have looked a little bit differently. But after those villagers got taken out, there was just no end in sight. There was no comeback ability for Scatterbrained at that point. And game number 4, look at the civ picks. Baltune says, I'm either going to get French or I'm going to get the French alternative of JD. So JD versus Byzantines on Baldland.
Yeah, this can be quite the good matchup for JD, considering that she's a very aggressive civilization with the hero unit. And Byzantines, they can find themselves struggling a little bit when it comes to dealing with very early on aggression. Could be that we might actually see something along the lines of a Dark Age barracks rush with some spearmen for Jeanne d'Arc into what is potentially an outpost rush to deny the berries.
and to just continually put pressure on the Byzantines early on. And Scatterbrained, his plan, of course, is going to be to just stabilize. That is the main game plan here from the Byzantines. If they're able to stabilize in the Feudal Age, they're scaling on 1TC. It is pretty much unmatched in the game.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many times where Byzantines will lose a bunch of units trying to go up to like a greedier Castle Age play. They're down 10, 15 villagers, and with the 5 cistern economy, with the free units flowing from the olive oil, all of a sudden, it doesn't matter that they're down economy. It doesn't matter that they're down all of that, extra resources, because their civilization bonuses just make up for it so well.
Indeed, especially alongside that early olive oil gathering. It's just an early powerhouse economy there for the Byzantines. If you just let them scale, it can very quickly get out of hand. But speaking of scaling, Jeanne d'Arc with the level 3, once she gets enough experience and she gets up on that horse, that unit just starts to no longer take any range damage, and she's able to, if she cleaves, absolutely hemorrhage units from the opposing faction. Or if she's the raider, or the ranged unit, the hunter, Jeanne d'Arc, just being able to snipe villagers from a long distance away.
Yeah, not only villagers, just overall some of those higher cost units that are running away at low health, able to just get some good snipes onto them also. So we'll see which JD version Baltune decides to go for. I feel like with Byzantines, depending on which mercenary route do you think Scatterbrained will go for in the JD matchup?
Up against JD, I feel like in general against French, you always want to be going for the javelin throwers, just because it'll give you such a much easier time to be picking off the archers. Like JD or French pretty much always are going to be going for archers on their side, and longbows against archers are fine. But javelin throws against archers are brilliant, and especially if you see JD going for the ranged form, javelin throws just absolutely tear her apart.
Yeah, and that's really one where the javelins just get so much use against JD. It feels like it forces you to go melee JD against Biz just to avoid that chance. And sometimes we'll even see JD just full commit into knights if there are quite a bit of javelins going out and about. So we'll see if that's kind of the route that Scatterbrained takes. It does seem like it's the better route. It does seem like it's the typical route that the Biz players will play against her.
Indeed, but we kind of saw some interesting separate plays from JD recently, I want to say. Mainly one not oriented around knights, but just a tri-army composition very early on, utilizing the consecration to not just be able to buff up the horsemen, or rather reduce the horseman cost, but also potentially reducing spearman cost and just seeing a whole lot of infantry out on the field. And that is something where the Byzantines, if they're getting denied on the berries, they can struggle when it comes to actually getting enough units out onto the field.
Yeah, if they're able to have that secured, it feels crazy with the lack of investment into military, but the ability to actually stay, even in numbers because of the olive oil units. That's what'll allow Byzantines to kind of have that greedier castle a lot of times. But if berries get denied, it just feels like they're in a whole different situation. So that's where you were talking about, we might end up seeing that JD tower rush. We just saw quite a few outposts from Baltune on Socotra, so he might just follow up the outpost play with another outpost play.
Oh man, yeah, the massive outpost there is that was something that I didn't quite anticipate, and it made it incredibly hard for Scatterbrained to get like any semblance of map control in front of his base in there as well. That was a genuinely interesting usage there of the hand cannon placements, and yeah, just overall very, very interesting to see there. Now though, on Boltland, I'm wondering if we're going to see something along the lines of potentially pro scouts for JD, because on Boltland it's an interesting situation. You do have a good amount of deer out there on the map, but it tends to be smaller packs of deer. So smaller packs of deer introduce a lot more walking time on your villagers, and that's just an additional benefit of pro scouts, minimizing the walking time on your villagers there, not having them move out onto the deer, instead the deer coming to them. But Pro Scouts does kind of like decrease your tempo when it comes to your timing push if you want to go for a timing push onto your opponent. Later on, you're going to be getting a lot more resource in to continue the push, but early on, the timing when that initial push comes in is getting delayed by quite a bit. But of course, we kind of have to wait and see if we're going to see, like, when the aggression comes in, whether the aggression starts coming in Feudal Age or immediately in Dark Age with an Dark Age Outpost Rush.
I feel like this is one of those matchups, though, that you can't afford to go pro scouts, because then that gives Byzantines the time to secure their berries, secure the next set of berries, to kind of have their way with the game. And all of a sudden, you're like, yeah, I've secured my food economy. I have a great income coming in. And Byzantines is like, we're fine with that. We have a better economy over on our side.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, Byzantine, the economy, it is one of the things of all time, right? And if you just give them a finger, they take the entire hand. That is also, though, where it becomes very important to take a look at the spawn that we'll be getting in for Scatterbrained with the Byzantines. If the berries are forward, then that is going to be like a clear target for Baltune to aggress onto. If the berries are in the back, or even worse, if the berries are on the opposite side of the gold, and both resources are kind of like more to the back, that is going to be the ideal spawn for Scatterbrained, to just utilize the Byzantines to the maximum of their ability. If anything like that is going to be more centered towards the front side, then Baltune is going to be very much incentivized to go on the aggressive early on.
Yeah, and I mean, with JD in general, usually you're wanting to lean into that aggression. At the very least, you're wanting to force engagements to happen to get her some extra XP. But we'll see what routes Baltune decides. We'll see what build order Scatterbrained decides. Game number 4, a game decider here. Scatterbrained on the Byzantines in the color yellow. Baltune on JD in the color red.
Looking at the spawn, the gold is forward. However, berries are in the back for Scatterbrained. It looks like Baltune is not going to be going for Dark Age aggression. So Scatterbrained should have no issue when it comes to getting to Feudal Age. And once Feudal Age is reached, being able to gather up from the berries in the back. And oh my god, where are the other berries? They're even further in the back. And there's also the gold in the back. Scatterbrained, what a fortuitous spawn.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just one set of berries. It's 3 different sets of berries that are in kind of some easier to protect locations. None of them are really spawning forward. Baltune has some back berries on his side. It's just not as exciting if you're JD to get back berries and to secure berries for yourself. You're much more of a tempo civ, wanting to take advantage of deer, wanting to take advantage of boar as well. So we'll see if that's going to be a potential for him moving out to the boar somewhat early on. It's just such a long walking distance on this map with the boars tucked in the corners.
It really is, but the boar gives you so much gather speed on it as well. Could be worth it. Maybe not immediately, but after just a little bit of... First, I think what you want to do is you want to apply a little bit of pressure to your opponent just to make sure that they're not going to be moving out and deny you on the boar. After that, then you're in a position to start sending villagers out to the boar. I think too early, and you leave yourself a little bit overexposed for any retaliation.
Yeah, we do know with Baldlands, pretty hard map to wall off, but some segments really could go a long way. Looking at Scatterbrained's base, he could almost wall like towards that northern wood line to the stone, and then the backwood, and protect all of those berries, protect all of the gold behind it. But easier said than done. Still quite a bit of a wood investment for him, so can't get that down early, but might be something that when Feudal Age starts, when those knights start roaming, you try to take advantage of and allow them less space to circle, roam, and do their annoyances.
Yeah, you're right. It's really one of those things where when you're up in a matchup against something like or against a civilization like the French or against JD, walls are just such a valuable part of your defense strategy that just getting a couple of them early out, like as you age up to the Feudal Age, can then like save you a world of pain later on down the line.
Yeah, it makes it to where you don't have to spread yourself thin if you do end up going for, your good old Limitane units that are going to be quite slow, but you can rally them to, 1 or 2 spots rather than having to spread them out in 4 different spots. When you spread them out that much, it allows the French player or JD to take fights and engagements when those numbers are thin, and the knights stay together and use their mobility.
Indeed, also, like, during engagements early on, having the healing ability on JD can come in very, very clutch, especially since typically the Byzantines open up with the Limitani defense, And when both numbers are still relatively low, that is when knights can typically take early engagements up against the spearmen. And having the healing ability ready at that point in the game can really swing the tides and can very easily snowball into a loss of control over a resource like the berries, over loss of resource like the gold or even the stone. Though typically at that point, Byzantines is not going to be gathering from the stone anymore.
But clean age-up timing here from Baltune, 4 minutes, 15 seconds. JD building that house, getting close to choosing her path here in just a little bit. And the first knight clearly in queue, and will be starting to roam out here soon. Scatter not too far away from being able to drop that barracks himself, though.
Barracks the most important building here for him. Scout from Scatterbrained just causing a little bit of annoyance over on the gold from Baltune. Hitting some of the villagers there, blocking the pathing a little bit, and now actually just trying to torch down the mining camp. Torching down, or rather just like harassing the buildings a little bit, the gather buildings, is such an undervalued little point there, where when you click, or rather you want to force drop the villagers off on a building, instead of dropping off immediately, well, they are going to drop off, but they're also going to start repairing the building, means that your opponent will lose just a little bit of wood. And having odd numbers when it comes to wood gathering means the difference sometimes between being able to build a building or just about not being able to afford it immediately.
It is the path of the warrior chosen. It's also scouts in queue for Baltune, professional scouts about to finish on up. So we talked a little bit about that before the game. Baltune decides that's not giving up enough tempo. It's allowing him safe food economy and just to scale himself throughout this game. So we'll start to bring back those deer in here soon.
Yeah, Limitani defense has been mounted in the meantime, just as the knight is about to come in here. Villagers on the berries need to be careful, though. One hit gets tanked up. Villagers not going to be going down. One still very low HP, though, is going to get pulled back over towards the TC.
Yep, and Limited number is starting to build up, fourth one in queue. Meanwhile, Baltune, it's just that one single knight to cause the distraction, to cause that, investment from the other side. Scatterbrained, though, will be able to kind of see this play now coming.
Oh, Woodline, there's still Limitani there, trying to bait out the brace, able to bait it out. So gets the connection in without getting stun locked.
Scout slowly taking that trade. JD taking the first boar in the southern side here to give herself some free XP while the time is there for it. Scout does drop the deer. Oh, I thought the other one was just going to replace that one and pick it. Oh, it does end up deciding to pick that deer right on up that's closer to home. So just making sure that those villagers never are going to be stopping on that deer gathering for the foreseeable future here.
Yeah, Scatterbrained still utilizing that scout just to be a little bit annoying there. Javelin throws, as you said, just now in queue for Scatterbrained.
Yeah, and now that Baltune's starting to gather up on those deer, he's produced the amount of scouts that he wants to continue to pull those back. It's going to be more and more of that military investment. We'll see if he decides to drop a range at any point in time here soon with the amount of Limited that are out for Scatterbrain's side, or if he just is trying to play further and further into knights.
Thing with the javelin throwers is they start getting really, really dangerous once that second batch comes in. At just about 7 javelin throwers, you're going to be able to one-shot the archers one by one. With that, just being able to really easily reduce the numbers there can be quite important. Baltune so far, though, no movement, or rather no move into archers yet, just mainly knights for the time being. Yeah, and even investing into a third stable now. Scatterbrained, though, he's just making Limitani for the time being, so he's fine, at least for the time being, until the knight count gets even bigger.
Yeah, we talked about some of these wall segments just going a long way. So Scatterbrained dropping the walls on the southern side allows his full Limited mass to just be on the north side of his base, to be on the berries that he just moved out to give him that protection and not spread himself too thin.
More knights and more knights for the time being. Walls did get finished up, as he said, and yeah, Scatterbrained able to centralize his economy. Having a lot of food in the bank. And now moving back to the gold in the back of his base. So could be that he's once again looking for an eventual age-up play here. Baltune, though, looks like he's doing the same, looking at the resource that he has.
Yeah, it does look like Baltune is just gonna go with the 6 knights into castle. I don't know if I've seen this one before, but I'm sure it'll play out here. Next, Boar is taken, so JD getting a little bit more XP for herself since there haven't been any head-on engagements, and Baltune definitely does not want to take any of these head-on engagements, seeing the army compositions here.
A little bit of pressure being put there on these walls on the sidelines. Just forcing some of the military to move over there from Scatterbrained. Yeah, Baltune looks like he's going to be the first one to be able to age up. We do see a blacksmith coming in from Scatterbrained. Don't think he's going to be able to afford any upgrades, though, if he wants to get the timely age up in. And now Royal Institute being the play here from Baltune.
Yep, JD taking a fight, actually, against 2 Limited A that moved on out. A scout trying to be an annoyance, trying to be a distraction. Allow JD to get a couple extra swings on in.
It's going to take her a little bit of time, though, in order to get those Limitani down. Scatterbrained just needing a little bit more gold in order to be able to go for his own age up. But Royal Institute is interesting here. So it looks like Baltune might be trying to go for a decisive push with the Bloodline Knights as soon as those upgrades come in. Triple stable, 2 of them already consecrate, so is going to be getting a very, very nice buff there when it comes to the cost. And the Royal Institute, I believe, as well, does house the unique upgrade for JD to be able to even further decrease the cost of these knights with the consecration on the building.
Yeah, and I mean, there's so many times where I'll see people go for the Royal Institute, not have enough in the bank for the upgrade right as castle hits, and sure enough, Baltune just a little bit short of actually being able to click up for Royal Bloodlines as well. I think it's 490 gold you need. Should be, yep, just now clicks it right when he gets there. So good job by Baltune, kind of banking up some resources. It feels bad because you're not producing knights during the time you're aging up with some of the resources you have, but you're actually utilizing the castle effectiveness earlier on.
And the age up, there's already a double stable play from Scatterbrained, so it could be that he wants to answer with Cataphracts here. The issue with going Cataphracts up against these knights is that they're going to have very similar HP, but at a much reduced cost in comparison to the Cataphracts. Now age up has come in for Scatterbrained as well. Will start getting the veterancy upgrades on his units. JD, of course, being able to capture up sacred sites as soon as Castle Age comes in, and that's actually accompanied by a lot of experience for JD. So yeah, she's able to almost, just very quickly increase the XP that she has there.
Yeah, it's basically means where like next engagement happens, it should be very easy for her to hit level 3. We see Scatter investing into the next set of walls, so full base about to be protected, but he is onto those last sets of berries, so should be at a point now where olive oil won't quite be as easy to come by without having an olive grove transition. I think there's still some berries left next to the Grand Winery, but still there should not be a ton of food income left for him. Meanwhile, Baltune has still been having some deer brought back in.
Yeah, it's just a lot of food income overall for Baltune, and he is utilizing that with more and more knights in production. Getting some other unique upgrades in at the moment. Did we already... Okay, I think he just complete Royal Bloodlines. Cannon Saddles is coming in now behind this. Don't think we've gotten the upgrade in yet to further reduce the cost of these knights. But yeah, just looking at the stats, 310 HP on those. Yeah, there it is, Ordnance Company, even further reducing the cost of all the units from the Consecrate buildings. But of course, we do have some camel riders here as well, giving a big, big aura debuff on these knights. 20% less damage. That is quite big and could actually make this play incredibly difficult now for Baltune.
JD, hello?
Oh!
Oh, takes some damage. Baltune might feel like he has to take a little bit of an engagement here to keep her alive. Does not opt for it yet. Just wants to make sure that the units from Scatterbrained don't fully close the gap.
Feels like he needs just a couple more knights before he's actually able to take a fight. Most importantly, though, he will want the army from Scatterbrained to be a little bit more split up. Does not want to take a straight head-to-head engagement. Instead, he wants to take the fight on his terms.
Yeah, JD can get some good swings on in, but with her still being level 2, does not have the same amount of tankiness. Is pretty easy to take down by those better units. And Scatter getting a first big raid here, does pick up one single villager, causes some idle time, but sees where Baltune is starting to gather from. Engagement happens though in the mid-map. Knights taking the fight, JD running.
Just trying to soak up the experience.
Taken down by the Cataphracts.
Very close to being able to level up. There it is.
And level 3 comes through.
Rally gets put up. Immediately goes down, and JD also going down.
Cataphracts dive through, but there's still so many camels here. Last 2 camels that were very, very low health, about to get taken down, but the next 2 arrive. So camel debuff still staying strong here. Baltune, though, thinned out that limited A number substantially and just has the camels mainly to deal with.
Eliana Limitani left alive, as he said, and now JD has been bought back. Baltune continuing to take the fight now. Most of the units very low in health are going to get picked up. JD getting some good amount of experience in again. And all of these low HP knights can get healed up again.
Yeah, and we're at a point now where Baltune has more military numbers than Scatterbrained has, which is not a good feeling when you're the Byzantines and you have some of those infantry, some of those cheaper costing units as well. So knights just getting to run rampant, getting to take control and do with it what they please here.
Some of the weak knights, though, getting taken down by the javelin throws. Scatterbrained, he is now at a point in the game where food is not available as plentiful as it used to be. They just move out to the next berry patch. And he just needs a ton of Limitani now, maybe even some crossbows at this point in time. I think the Cataphracts, in theory, are an interesting play. It's just the Royal Institute makes these trades not effective.
Yeah, not affected by any means. Baltune even dropping a few farms here and there to just make sure his food economy doesn't diminish. Looks like he's starting to run lower on those deer, starting to move out to some of these different berry spots. But Scatter, he is definitely the one that economy is hurting a little bit more. Needs to secure some of this up. Cistern level is nice and healthy at 4, and he's expanded that out to the next berries that he's on, but there aren't many more berries for him to take after that.
Yeah, not a lot indeed. Still a couple, or rather this last little deer pack there with 3 deer. That's roughly 1,000 food that he could still pick up. Now Baltune, he's starting to push forward. Does get spotted out by the outpost. Just 2 spearmen, not going to be enough, and that's going to be an easy pick up there for him.
Yeah, he is happy to take down units in smaller numbers and smaller engagements here. He sees actually the whole army of Scatter and says, I think I could just take this fight overall. Does exactly that. JD does a spinning attack here. Wololo comes down to push Baltune back at least for a brief bit of time, but he's going to double down. He's going to go right back into this fight again.
Fight is being committed to. Limitani doing their best, but it's just so many knights together with the Royal Bloodlines. They take a long time to get taken down. Still, Camel Riders able to apply the debuff here throughout the entirety of this fight. Some Cataphracts coming in as well.
Baltune decides he's had enough of that fight for the time being. A lot of those knights lower health, wants to fall back, heal them up, and come back at a better point in time, a healthier point in time for his army mass.
Yeah, did lose a good bunch of units there, and idle time also being caused by a single Cataphract there in the back of his base.
Yeah, Scatterbrained has continually sent Cataphracts over to these villagers on gold. Just picked off units here and there, as we just see 3 total villagers have gone down. Doesn't feel great trading a Cataphract for a single villager, but that damage does slowly start adding on up.
Cavalry coming in clutch now, but with all the extra HP that these knights do get from the Royal Bloodlines, means that's going to take them a little bit of additional time to fully heal up again.
Exactly. They're gonna be patient. They're gonna be waiting here, and Scatterbrained during that time that the knights are healing is gonna go try to find some damage with another cataphract. Doesn't quite hit the same low health unit, low health villager that he charged in on, so not able to pick up a villager. Baltune getting the cheaper knight upgrade now.
Yeah, so we'll be able to get an additional buff there on the cost of all of these units. It'll be nice when it comes to sustaining, especially in the gold department. The food buff stays the same, but just needing to pay less gold for these knights. It is, of course, a pretty costly investment to make this many knights. Scatterbrained now at almost 30 Limitani. He's got the mass now in order to take these fights.
Yeah, and Baltune's moving out to the 8k gold in the mid-map. Scatterbrained already gets the vision of this, I believe, with the cataphract that was running on through. Maybe he didn't quite see it, but either way, a very vulnerable spot to Baltune to move on over to. Baltune's trying to deny gold. So many Limitane here, like you said. That is a number that Baltune has to respect. The Royal Bloodlines play is definitely more of a timing play, and has this timing now gone by for Baltune?
Definitely a rough one now. Doesn't feel like he... Actually, not just feel. I mean, we can tell. He didn't really do too much economic damage, and when it comes to collected resources, the two players are pretty much neck and neck at the moment. Army value still relatively similar, but it's just one side has the counter units and the other does not. These camel riders, the debuff, definitely not to be underestimated here in this game. I think it really kind of made a big difference during a lot of these engagements.
Yeah, it definitely did. The big question now is, has Scatterbrained had the time to get this Olive Grove transition that he is needing? Because he's running out of the berries, and sure enough, there is a massive amount of olive groves that have now come in on the backside of his base, right around that Grand Winery that has 3 relics inside of it as well. Baltune garrisoning on in those villagers, so will not lose any here and should pick up 2 free cataphracts.
Yeah, it's going to be able to take those down. To 45 Limitani now at this point. Really would love to see some additional range backline coming in for Scatterbrained, not in the form of javelin throwers, but maybe in the form of some crossbows potentially. As so far, it's been knights and only knights. Sure, there are the John Dark's riders, which do bonus damage to crossbows, but there's just so many more knights that the chances are you're most likely going to be targeting those with the crossbows.
Exactly, and Baltune's been good about picking off the units here and there, trying to go raid from Scatter. It feels like, you know, when you're playing this side, you have to do something, but I feel like Scatter can just chill and continue playing the Byzantines game, and you'll eventually find yourself at a point where your economy is too strong to be dealt with here, especially if your opponent's only going knights. And now we're seeing a point where Scatterbrained's unit mass is so scary, so healthy. Baltune does have a lot of knights. It's just, will they be able to take this engagement?
It is a pretty large mass of units, but you can never underestimate knights, I feel like, because just having this many knights, like the knight to Limitani count, the ratio is in a ratio range where you would typically credit the victory to the knights. So I feel like this is still very much undecided, even though Scatterbrained has completely stabilized, even though he is pumping out the counter units non-stop. Game is still not over.
Yeah, it's 1-2 where JD's heal can come through at just this crazy good timing that provides so much value when engagements become this big. But Scatterbrained, over 100 military mass. I feel like Baltune needs to take this now or it's going to get too late. And so he goes through, starts to dive that front line, but doesn't get onto the Limitani mass yet. Still waiting, still watching.
A little bit of early damage there before the engagement. JD upgrade now also coming in, going to give it a little bit more health and damage alongside the champion units as well. Scatterbrained, 73 Limitani, 9 more in queue. He's about to be population capped now. Baltune at 134 out of 200. Scatterbrained getting there to 200 very soon.
Yeah, and once you're at 200, you feel like the next steps is go up for sure. But Baltune feels like he has to take an engagement, and take the engagement he does, getting a little bit too close to his gold villagers. Knights split, Knights wrap around where the stone vein is.
JD heal
Not
comes
as much
in.
of a spread going on. Heal comes through.
Has to go for the full surround continuously. Well, Bloodline's definitely worth its weight in gold here. But the fight is still going on. Good positioning.
Baltune's units, they're able to actually clean up a lot of that front line. There's still so many Knights here, so many healthy Knights as well. It's going a little bit better than it seemed at first.
The pathing around the stone outcropping, there's so many spearmen there not participating in the fight at the moment. And Baltune, he's only pulling back the side where he is getting surrounded, not pulling back the other side where he is winning. And JD levels up. Level 4 is in now. Gonna be able to do a lot more damage now. Goes for the engagement. And with a much stronger JD.
AoE.
He's winning.
He is
That's
winning,
crazy.
and he is winning substantially. It feels like a lot of these Knights staying alive. There's Javelin throwers staying alive, which Baltune could care less about. They're going to be tickling those Knights that he has, and what a huge victory. What a fight that he ended up taking.
Anybody telling me that Knights are weak at this point has to be lying, has to be having an agenda, because somehow, against mainly only Camel Riders and Limitani, Baltune's military able to succeed in this fight. With JD now at level 4, he's starting to push forward towards Scatterbrained's base.
Yeah, and while he did lose quite a bit of Knights, Scatterbrained lost about 60 plus units on the other side. So a fight that he's happy to take, especially because JD's upgrade now is through. Her being level 4, it's just absolutely crazy how much value she gets. As you can see, the blast cannon now.
Yeah, also means that she's going to be able to do a lot of damage against buildings as well, potentially. So once the army goes down, the buildings are not going to be safe either.
8 more Knights in queue for Baltune. Just such a healthy queue. He's over on the berries. The worry he has now is needing to make a bigger farm transition. As we already saw Scatter's Olive Grove transition, Baltune is still on some of those pocket resources, still on the berries, onto the Boar, onto some of those other spots. So
Yeah.
that is really the worry that can happen for Baltune, is all of a sudden his food starts to run dry.
Yeah, most definitely. It needs to be able to finally start being able to do some real economy damage here. Fight, once again, is getting recommitted to. This time around, though, the Limitati, the entire mass is back up again. And this time, Scatterbrained is able to get the full surround, and Baltune pulling some of the weak Knights back on the right flank. But now, Scatterbrained, this time around, is seemingly able to clean up the cavalry mass from Baltune. And I think after that, Baltune should not be able to remass this many Knights again.
No, so much harder for him to make this remaster. It felt like after that last fight, he was gonna have potentially a timing push to be able to take advantage of, but now the gas, he's running out of gas. The steam's not being enough here for him. His gold is about to start getting dove upon. There are some outposts for some of the villagers to dive inside of. Spears and camels trying to burn down that outpost. It's still alive for a second. Starting to
JD
be
getting
rebuilt.
trapped?
JD is trapped.
Oh, she's gonna go down.
trying to do some AoE. She goes down. Huge pickup for Scatterbrained, and he has more reinforcements coming to this front side.
Might still being taken. Sprinkle and placement outpost, but it's not going to be enough at this point. Scatterbrained's economy is just so strong. So many more Limitania coming in. Baltune having to call GG. Scatterbrained evening out the set again in game number 4.
Yeah, what a crazy back and forth there. It felt like Baltune had some timings that he could have tried to take advantage of, but with Scatterbrained's walls, with him just able to have this defensive nature of Byzantines and his patience, it proved to be effective.
Oh man, looking at the military value lead there, definitely a lot of relatively big swings there back and forth between them. Economic count definitely neck in neck. Total resources gathered though. I mean, Baltune, why did he not gather up any olive oil? That's the real question here.
Yeah, I mean, that just clearly is a lack of the economy, that he got outmassed in the olive oil and just couldn't come back from that.
Yeah. Whoever gathers up the most oil tends to win these games. But now, definitely, like, very, very interesting game plan there from Baltune, almost making it work with knights only. Definitely reminiscing a little bit there when it comes to games that we've seen from players like Louis MT or CSO in the past.
Yeah, and we've seen them. I mean, it's crazy how many games we've seen that someone's making the pure counter composition to knights only, and the player still is like, I don't care. Knights are better. I'm going to still continue to commit to knights. And that felt like that's where Baltune was at. He almost was able to make that, end all engagement happen. This is the fight that we were seeing here, using that stone outcropping to mess with a lot of the spear pathing. But ultimately, just so many high value units lost for Baltune was not able to be enough.
And now, next up, we're going to be moving over to front range. It is going to be the Holy Roman Empire for Baltune up against the Delhi Sultanate from Scatterbrained. Both the French and the Sengoku Daimyo are going to be getting sniped out here for this one. It's going to be an interesting one. I feel like in the past, things changed dramatically throughout the different metas that we've had. And there's been some good nerfs or relatively interesting nerfs on the HRE. I don't know, but it feels like Delhi at the moment just a super, super strong civilization when the knowledge is there. Just an insanely high skill cap. So if you're very familiar with Delhi, you can definitely make it quite far with them. HRE, after a couple of significant nerfs, I don't know, recently I think a lot of pro players as well have been spoken out about them, just not feeling that strong anymore.
Yeah, they just feel a bit underwhelming, which is weird to say because it feels like HRE has been that like civ across the board that's just like the backbone that someone feels comfortable with going. Can be used on hybrid, can be used on closed-in maps, can be used on open maps, but now it just feels like a lot of other civs are being prioritized. We've obviously seen Sengoku tried to be played by Scatter 3 different times now, sniped out 3 different times. Baltune, same thing said for his French, has tried to prioritize that French pick, and just Scatterbrained is not letting him play his comfort pick civ.
Yeah, he tried. French getting sniped at every single opportunity there. Sengoku also not going to be making it through though for Scatterbrained, but Delhi, I feel like the 3 players have also gotten a pretty good grasp of Delhi. They play it without too much importance, or rather too much priority onto the sacred side. Instead, they know that if the game just goes long, as long as they continuously invest into the scholars, they can take superior fights with the healing. And eventually, come Castle Age, they're going to be in a great spot when it comes to the upgrade. And we're taking a look at game number 5 here now, which is going to be the decider game in a little bit, I guess. Maybe not. Maybe we'll figure out what the tactic.
We're figuring it out.
We're going to be fixing that. A little bit of a game crash there, apparently. But we will be back very soon into that game, and we'll be catching up to the live state of it as well. So I'm going to be working on that now in the meantime.
At least, the crash happens earlier and not later on in, so it's, doesn't feel as bad. And yeah, exactly. If we're at think about last game, all of a sudden we're 25 minutes in and it crashes. That'd be a whole different story because that game wouldn't have had an easy one side or the other to pick from. It was back and forth until it wasn't.
Yeah. Chan asking why it's going to be French HRE instead of French Ayubids here for Baltune. Honestly, I'm not 100% sure. My personal preference would have been also to pick Ayubids here, mainly because like a lot of the remaining civilizations here from Scatterbrained are going to be cavalry civilizations. Having the camel lancers there would just generally be a very, very good choice here. But Baltune opting for the HRE instead. Gonna be interesting to see if he's got like a special plan there. Could be like a Minework Palace, because of course the horsemen with the owl pikes are gonna be a lot more competitive when it comes up to taking the Ghazi Raiders. And of course, when you have prelates, you're also gonna be able to kind of like deal a little bit with the healing from your opponent's side by also being able to heal your horsemen as well.
Yeah, I mean, healing is just so strong in general. We saw it try to be utilized last game, almost did get utilized, but that's when we're scholars, and that many scholars can make that healing so much easier.
Yeah, Scholars, of course, you don't have to idle out your TC if you want to make them at the same time. Prels, of course, they do idle out your TC a little bit. Would be interesting if they're gonna, like, figure something out there in the future. Maybe give the Archon Chapel the ability, now that it's nerfed a little bit, to produce, like, not infinite prelates, but like a couple of additional prelates would be kind of cool if something like that could be changed in the future. But for the time being, I mean, when you're going for the mine work, you want to be actively making some prelates anyways, just in order, of course, to be able to buff up all of your economy.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, the chapel had its time for so long. I feel like mine work needs to have its time to shine here a little bit. You know, it was such an underutilized landmark for so long. It was just never thought about, never touched for, it felt like years. And now we're starting to see it come out a little bit. So, hey, you know, I will not be the one to complain here.
I mean, what was it at the beginning? 30% reduced cost, then 40, now 50%? Just buff it enough. At some point, it'll find its uses now alongside some unique upgrades. But here we go. Game number 5. We're going to be catching up to the live game right now, as we've got Baltune up against Scatterbrained. Baltune already going out to the Boar here, just in front of his base. Is now going to be aging up with the Archon Chapel inside of his base. Dome of the Faith is going to be coming in for Scatterbrained, so we'll be getting that nice little discount on the Scholars, while Baltune is going to be getting that nice little area of bonus income, or rather continuous inspiration around the Archon Chapel. Oh, and the Scout? He's pinched? He can't get out.
Oh, the classic little circle here.
Little color change there. But yeah, now Baltune gonna be undisturbed while he's gonna be able to gather from the Boar there.
Yeah, and more importantly, this forces Scatterbrained to have a lack of information, lack of knowledge for what plan and play Baltune is going for. I think we all know what Delhi wants to do. It's Ghazis and more Ghazis. But this is one where HRE, you don't always know their game plan. You don't always know if they're going to go horsemen, they're going to go spears, going to go with an infantry composition, you know, what the game plan is. It's still going to be barracks to counter out the Ghazi to start, though.
And this is one of those things now where Scatterbrained, because he lost a scout, he does not have 100% confirmation on this play being the case from Baltune. So he just has to kind of like assume it until he gets an additional scout out. For the time being, just going to be Ghazi Rares though, and Baltune alongside the barracks also immediately going for a stable play behind it as well.
A stable play indeed. So spears and horsemen going to be the unit composition for the HRE. Wants to protect up that Boar location as well. Continue to have that nice boosted up food income. And we actually see a second stables being dropped. Spear doesn't quite get the brace off from that Ghazi. And the Ghazi just runs on by and decides to go to the gold villagers.
Oh, villagers need to be careful. Prelate jumping out of the Archon Chapel there. Nice play. Making sure the villager is not going to get taken down. Villagers need to be careful on the Boar as well, though. Second Ghazi Raider now coming in as well. Second Spearman arriving at the same time. Scatterbrained just doing a lot here to put pressure onto Baltune early on with these Ghazi Raiders.
Yeah, next spear arrives as well. Ghazi need to be careful about getting pinched, but just need to make sure to stay at least alive with 1 health, and they will be able to come back at full. Scatterbrained still circling with these few initial Ghazis, though he wants to try to find more idle time caused by these.
First couple of horsemen now being produced as well. Already 4 in the queue for Baltune. I'll need to have a word with him depending on how many stables he has behind this.
He has 2. 2 stables.
Okay. We'll allow it. Overlay does show us the exact number of the production buildings now as well. So yeah, already 2 stables. Now an archer range getting put up there by Scatterbrained. But yeah, horseman play already gonna be in there. Oh, Prelate!
1 villager!
Not in time!
Oh, Prelate doesn't jump out in time. 1 spear protecting that location is not enough. Spear starting to try to get taken down. There's a Prelate to heal up the spear, though.
Oh, a little bit out of range.
Not enough.
Villager's gonna get pulled. Shiv's getting pulled.
Prelate!
Getting killed
Prelate
there.
gets taken down.
Baltune now needs to reinvest into a Prelate from the TC. And Scatterbrained getting some big wins here early on in this set, in this game.
Yeah. I'm not sure if he's scouted out the horseman play yet. He's going into archers with horsemen starting to get mass produced on the other side, so I feel like he doesn't have the knowledge and information of this. It does need to be at a worry if he starts to move out with those archers, because the archer group will get cleaned up so quickly. We will see when Baltune decides to move out and make that, you know, horseman rotation known to Scatterbrained.
Yeah, it's a lot of horsemen that Baltune is going for at the moment. Looks like he wants to go for a little bit of a timing push. Scatterbrained, though, look at the resources that he's banking up behind this. Kind of feels like he wants to go for, like, fast castle age transition, but now he's gonna see just how many horsemen Baltune is investing into. Could be that this gives him the information that he needs in order to decide against his current approach. So far, no move being made, though. Never mind. Is starting to queue up some Morgazi Raiders.
Another barracks coming on down. Baltune's military numbers is looking very healthy and very scary, whereas Scatterbrained looks like he wants to get to that castle age sooner than later.
Yeah, once again, just trying to force that castle age up in. And with the Delhi Sultan, I mean, he's already got a decent amount of scholars out there on the field. If he's able to get the castle age in, he's going to be able to get some really good upgrades at a pretty reasonable time as well. Still, the army count there from Baltune is just such a big army, and Pierce armor is already in for him. So I feel like if he decides to go for that age up, he is potentially going to find himself in a really bad position. And we have got to... What is that moving out at the top side there into the stealth forest at the moment? Are those villagers? Oh my god.
No.
And the outpost sees it.
Baltune has full knowledge and information of this. This could just be a free win. Just move over there with all your horsemen.
He's sending 2 horsemen over there. Sees that there's nothing out on the berries, and Scatterbrained, he's going into full production mode again.
He needs to go into full production mode. He was so close to castle. He had like 1,000 food. He only had a couple hundred gold, but he had 4 or 5 scholars in queue that he could have canceled and basically been there. But he knew if he had clicked the age up, it would have been death. He's going for a quick wall onto this deer on the north side, but the first 2 horsemen are going to get there in time.
That is such a slow wall. He doesn't anticipate that there's already units on their way over here.
Oh. I think he just barely spots out the first couple of horsemen, but Baltune, he wants to wait for the rest of the army. He wants to wait for this to just be a one big decisive win. The horsemen go around the backside. He's going to try to block the wall from getting fully finished.
Oh, another wall's coming in. Quick wall. It's going to get finished up. First villagers are going to get taken down, but most of the villagers are going to stay alive, at least for the time being. But this is a really bad spot to be in at the moment for them. There's no place to go. He's pulling his units over here.
That's still 15 villagers idled. He's going to rebuild the wall. He's going to wait for the rest of the units to arrive. Villagers actually getting a little bit confused on where they need to go, slipping through some of that spots. And if Baltune actually burns that piece that hasn't been fully finished, it won't take but any time at all. Fight is being forced, but this is a fight that Scatter does not want to take. He cannot take, but feels like he has to, using this time to allow the villagers to try to run on away, but Baltune's reinforcements arrive. He's focusing, splitting the mass onto the villagers, onto the Ghazi as well. So many villagers will fall. Scholars get pulled. Scholars going to come try to heal this up, but now Scatter is stuck in Feudal after having devastating losses.
And no food income at all for such a long time. Look at Baltune's resource. He's about to be able to go Castle Age with a much bigger military advantage. Still picking up more and more of the villagers on the retreat here as well.
And just what a decisive play. Scatter knew he needed food. It had to make a risky play, but risky was not what he needed to go for, as Baltune had full vision of that with the outpost control.
That was a brutal misstep there. Sending all of those villagers past the outpost. Now Baltune, it's just going to be... I would have said a Burgrave to finish it off, but instead is going to be the Reckness Cathedral just to play it safe now afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, this is at the point where Baltune feels like he can go up with Regnants, should be able to get an easy 4 relics at least, potentially 5 relics with the way this game has gone, and if you're HRE with Regnants with 5 relics, it is all but over. He's going for his own little wall in, but doing it a little bit more proactively before there's a huge military mass heading on over to it. Regnants already about a quarter of the way. He's already had partially, you know, I wouldn't call it a farm transition, but dropped some farms into the mix. And forcing yet another fight onto the food that Scatterbrained feels like he has to take, but can't really take this fight.
Scholars acting as a meat shield here. Spearmen able to catch off these villagers as they try to make a run for it. More villagers getting taken down.
Not enough healing to make this to be enough here. Villagers pull out the shiv, trying to do everything they can to help this fight. But little does Scatterbrained know, Regnants is about to finish after this fight gets taken. So yeah, he might have won this fight with the help of his villagers, with the help of the outpost, but he has much bigger problems at hand.
Does manage, though, to take down the military from Baltune. Loses a lot more villagers. Now down to 29 villagers against the 41 from Baltune. And Baltune now switching it up into mass knights. Man-at-arms upgrade also coming in behind this. Scholars, or rather prelates, gonna now make their way out onto the map to start picking up some of the relics. Villagers in the corner, walled on in. So are gonna be able to safely gather from the deer.
Yeah, and
Scatterbrained castle age.
He's trying to match it, but even if he does, there's so much tempo that he's lost. He's down so many villagers, and Baltune's actually going for the far side relic first, the hardest one to grab. He's going to go ahead and secure for himself right off the bat here. As long as the knights, the spears help protect it. There's so many spears though. Wololo comes in. That prelate might actually go down here. So the greed does not pay off here. First relic still not yet secured.
13 villagers working on that House of Learning. Knights are making their way over there though.
I mean, from bad to worse, the House of Learning. He doesn't quite spot it out. The knights chill. The knights don't see it. He just now does.
Goes for the charge. Gets one villager kill. Villagers try to go for a surround, can't quite find it.
At least delays the age up from finishing a little bit. Next couple men-at-arms running to that spot as well. Scholars defending the relic from the other prelate. I don't know how they're trying to body block it.
I mean, you gotta make do. You gotta make do with the tools that you have at the time. Now Age Up coming in for Scatterbrained. He's going to be able to start making his own knights, but once again, food is going to get idled out now. Men-at-arms making their way forward. 3 knights, 7 men-at-arms, 6 more in queue. Upgrades coming in on them as well. Already having the 200 upgrade on them.
And that many scholars not being garrisoned in the moss means that those upgrades are not really coming through too quick for Scatterbrained. Yeah, he's got 10 scholars, but he's only got... I don't even know if any of them are... no, it looks like one's in the stables and the rest are out. So those free upgrades are coming in at a snail's pace. Meanwhile, Baltune, 3 relics already secured on the way home. Don't think those can be denied at this point with how much military he has out, and should be able to grab the last 2 with ease. Well, one's not on the way back. He's just chilling. He said, look at my shiny thing.
Scatterbrained currently just 3 knights to his name. 70 to 53 overall population. Baltune currently bringing 3 relics back towards his base. Crossbows now also being added in for Baltune.
4th relic on its way home now as well. First relic's finally been dropped though, so that gold income, Baltune has 0 on gold. That gold income is about to skyrocket with 0 on gold. While he's doing this, realizes Scatterbrained does not have the...
Oh no. Yeah, I mean, that has to be the game ender, right?
That's like 10% of Scatterbrained's military that he just lost.
That's more than 10%. You can't count the scholars in there as well.
Good point. So just loses so much military mass. Baltune's diving TC doesn't care, so the few villagers that Scatterbrained does have don't really even get to work here. And Baltune's about to have more passive gold income than Scatterbrained's going to have income as a whole. Second relic has been dropped.
He's holding on, my dear life, as now 8 scholars inside of the mosques in order to get the upgrades in a little bit quicker. He's getting a decent amount of them in now.
Loses another 4 or 5 villagers on the backside.
Just can't get him out of the base.
He cannot leave the TC. Any villager he produces right now will die to Baltune's units as well. So Baltune just not going to allow Scatterbrained to breathe after this early, damage that he was able to make, early damage he was able to complete. Scholars just trying to out-heal this man-at-arms.
A single crossbow.
The rest of the army arrives. he's doing what he can over here.
That one crossbow is gonna lead him to victory there.
Eventually a scholar's gonna fall. There's one. Okay, and then it's not enough. Second scholar falls. Next scholar's trying to hop out.
Door stuck. Oh, now the villager's getting found out on the deer. Scatterbrained, he's been getting food here. I mean,
that was his lifeline. It didn't feel like there was much of a lifeline anyways, but that was the only thing keeping him in this game. Now the rest of his economy gets idled out. He is able to get back onto the wood line with the villagers that were garrisoned in the TC, but the villagers, they're just running in circles.
It's a solid amount of copium now at this point in time. Is able to garrison inside the houses, okay. But there's a big mass now. Okay, Baltune, he's going for the finisher now. Big ball of men-at-arms coming forward.
Yeah, I mean, we said it too earlier where Baltune's gold economy, his 0 on gold, he's getting almost 600 gold per minute, and Scatterbrained's getting a total of 800 resources per minute with how much idle time he's been dealing with. So Baltune's relics alone have basically equalized Scatterbrained's whole economy, and then now that allows the villagers to do with it what they please. It's what allows him this huge mass. Scatterbrained, he is not giving up though. He wants to try to roach his way back into this game. There's just not a possibility. There's no way he can come back from this position.
Not with all of the idle time being caused here. Sooner Baltune is going to reach Imperial age than Scatterbrained getting back into this, and now Baltune with the second military group able to find the villagers that just moved out to the gold. Scatter, he thinks that maybe, okay, his army can't be everywhere, but at this point it most definitely can be. And there it is. GG is going to be coming in. Baltune able to win the set against Scatterbrained. Scatterbrained is not going to be able to make his way to the Red Bull Wololo Londinium this time around.
Yeah. A solid 3-2 series there, still living up to the expectations. We saw the previous time that they matched up, it was a 3-2 for Baltune, and shows that same way. The last game was a little bit more decisive than what the rest of the series held. It definitely seemed a little bit tilted towards Baltune on that last game, which felt odd, especially considering the matchup we saw at hand. Felt like HRE was a little bit weaker there, but Scatterbrained just ran out of safe food and made a risky move out that got spotted from Baltune.
Yeah, it was a risky move out. Payoff time could have been huge there for him, but getting spotted there right as he moved out towards that deer did hurt him dearly indeed. And now we're going to be taking a quick look here at our bracket as we got Anaton versus Baltune. That is going to be there in the quarterfinals. Beastie currently waiting for Demu versus Myriad to finish on up.
Myriad, though, able to take a game off of Demu so far, continuing that kind of hot streak he has been on. We'll see if he can continue it up a little bit. MSN was also able to take a game off of Beastie, which, something he can't complain about as well.
The VS players in general have been performing absolutely great so far throughout the entire tournament. Like they've been performing really admirably, especially Myriad so far. Anaton also just insane performance so far throughout all of these Road to Wolos. I feel like maybe he's min-maxing a little bit the amount of prize money that he can get from the from the weekly events until he potentially qualifies, but you can't really cut it that close in the end, can you, right? Like, this is the last chance, and we've got a lot of top players still trying to qualify for the main event.
Yeah, a lot of excitement, a lot of games left here today and tomorrow, obviously, to figure out who the final qualifier is. But first, I believe we are getting Baltune here ready for the interview. We're still waiting on him, so we'll still idle out some more time over here.
Yeah, indeed. What did we have planned again for today? For the bracket, I do believe that next up we're going to be taking a look at Kiljardy versus Scarlet Devil. That's going to be coming up afterwards, and the third set today is going to be Beastie against either Demu or Myriad. So definitely still very, very fun and interesting games to look forward here to today. Fourth game today will be either Lucifron or Corvinus up against Numidan or Valdemar. So that's also going to be interesting. We got two VS players actually having to duke it out between each other.
Yeah, I mean, that's one where as VSs continue to expand, they're going to have to be playing each other a lot more often. As, you know, at first there were just a couple VS in the VS squad, and now I feel like it's, you know, almost like a quarter, almost getting closer to half of this bracket over here is VS.
They're just buying up all the player base, man. Can you believe it?
Yeah. But it does sound like Baltune is now ready after that 3-2 victory, so we'll get him on. We'll see some of his thoughts about how the series went. Baltune, congrats on the 3-2 victory. Big win there. Second time playing Scatter and ended up with the same result, actually.
Yeah, I can't say I figured him out, to be honest. He's very dangerous for me.
Yeah, so starting down with that first game with the Auto versus the Macedonian, it felt like y'all were kind of at a standoff for a while, but you had a great kind of corner pick-off on a lot of his Radari. Did you just kind of feel in control after that point and just played it patient from there?
Yeah, kind of. But I really didn't have any clue how the game was going at any point, because, yeah, I don't play Ottoman, really, so, yeah.
Well, starting out with a victory on Ottomans, I'm sure felt great for you. Following that up, we ended up having a tied-up series after Holy Island. It felt like you had position with the Admiralty upgrade already in, having kind of the equal number of ships, maybe even a little more. Where do you feel like things went wrong with the Holy Island game?
Just my decision making. I decided to go castle, and I don't think there's any reason to do that in that situation. So.
Gotcha. And then following up the Holy Island game, we had Socotra, and I mean, it felt awful at the 2.5 minute mark. We had the early horsemen come out. You lost 2 Vils on the Boar early. Kind of what went on with your mindset there? I feel like it's so easy to kind of just throw the game away at that point, feeling like there was no way to come back.
Yeah, I was kind of tilted. I just decided to play on and see how it went. I had no hopes for winning that game, really.
And sure enough, you ended up having some good trades, defended the ram push, and then you just full committed to the outpost push in the feudal age. Was there ever a point where you thought about going to castle, or you were like, look, this is all or nothing now?
Nah, I thought I could just continue in feudal. The Shogunus are so good.
Yeah. And then leading into the fourth game, we saw the team game player come out of you with the only Knights, JD versus Byzantines. It felt like there were some good trades you made. Did you ever feel like making the transition from only Knights, or you were hard-headed in that full commit?
No, I was committed. There was no switching.
Yeah, well, and then the last game of the series, it felt like the last game of the series was rather one-sided. Maybe not with the matchup, but you obviously spotted out the massive move to the north side of the map with the villagers. Did you just know the game was over from there?
Kind of, yeah. I was thinking he was edging up at that point, and he was trying to hide villagers, so I was a little worried, but then I saw he wasn't actually edging up, and I realized the game was probably just over.
Well, big congrats on the 3-2 series there and continuing the hot streak you've been on in this tournament so far. And obviously we'll be watching the next round, the next series here soon enough, and good luck with those.
Thank you.